One second, let's put this on. Here's where we left off. Let's just get that. Can we just refresh? It doesn't.
Go ahead, sure.
Please.
For everybody.
No.
So we left off this. I remember fresh. The question. Question was that there's a second reason. We spoke about why Tehu. Remember the whole Teichen Advarim here. He's talking about Shema. Right? Shema is a mamutza. Shemashpiyim Makabel. Right? That was the whole beginning of the Indian.
Yeah.
That what Shema is Chabeshnei Hofrim Mechesed Gurim Mashpiyim Makabel. Shema is essentially the essence of Tikkun. But to understand Tikkun, we have to know what Tehu is. Ban.
Like the real coffee?
So.
I'm cheating.
So this is the whole discussion of the bittul and so on and so forth. Then tikkun is iskalus. Everyone takes from each other. Everyone's mashpiyah to each other. In Tehu, there's no makabel from each other. There's no mashpiyah to each other. So he explained all the different reasons. Remus, it's a mitzias bazich. There's no bittul, etc., etc. Then he started a second. So then he started the issue is why is he not mashpiyah? Why is he not makabel?
Second thing was shleim.
Right. Why is he not makabel? We know.
Yeah.
Because this was. Why is he not mashpiyah?
Good.
So the answer was. The answer was because.
Gain by being mashpiyah.
Right. But then he went into a second reason. There's a second reason. He spoke two reasons that you mashpiyah. One mitzvah bittul, one mitzvah gadlus. So mitzvah bittul is
Oh,
first
so you were there. You were here for that one.
1 second.
That's Reish Mem.
No, it's not Reish Mem. It's not
Not
Reish
Reish
Mem.
Mem?
No, it's not. Maybe he repeats it because it's the same sugya. 1 second. Let me just say
Okay,
what
okay,
I
okay,
know.
okay,
You
sure.
notice
Go
it
ahead,
because
go ahead,
there's
go
nothing
ahead.
underlined here.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead, yeah.
1 second. So we go like this. If it's a bittul that he gives,
Right.
you know, there's bottle ganz like a melech, dancing bottle. So that we understand. Torah doesn't have that.
Right.
But there's godless. Godless. He's so much as Ayin Beis pashtus, he just pours out.
Right.
That was where we left off. He asked the question. I'm just going. I said Reish Lamed Ches. Yeah. Yeah. Yesh eight sibba lapira. The sibba is mitzad shleimus. Latzma. And mitzad inyan of yeah. I was by Reish Mem. What are you talking about?
Oh, so I'm telling you for the fifth time. You were there, but Reish Mem.
Yeah, Reish Mem was the last page. Sorry.
That's-
So I'm
You
Madain.
left it underlined. Go ahead.
Madain Zorach Lo
That's
Havim.
it.
And the Mitzvah Mashpoy is basic fun. One is a spom mitzad abitl, one is a spom mitzad gadlus.
Finished.
So mitzad gadlus, why does Tehu not give? That was the final
That's
thing.
it. You left us
I'm
with
on
a
the
question.
bottom of Tov Pei Vov.
Exactly.
And mitzad agdul is not shoy b'yehem shum zoy zorach lis b'mashpo. V'nei tzvir sadei.
You left us by the question.
And because as ribui oyer Tehu, why is it not mashpia?
Like Chesed the Godless, we said. Chesed. Remember Chesed it was Chesed.
That's what you meant. Okay, chesed zuta.
Yeah.
The two cheseds.
Chesed.
Okay, yeah, that's what you meant.
That's a real thing.
The two cheseds, right? That's where we left off. Hold
Right.
on. Okay. So he began to answer. So how was the answer? So tell me the answer.
Oh, but I don't think.
But
he
answer
should-
in 30 seconds.
But he didn't answer yet.
He did. He must have answered.
Let
Reish Mem, if he didn't answer.
me tell you.
So he began to be. You know what? Fine. So let's just say this. I know that he began to say. Then the Mishnah. He went back to the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. Till now, we just said shalish shalish shalcha shalcha. That's Tehu. Tehu is not interested in anybody else, only in themselves. Not mashpiyah, not makabel. So he says, but there's another issue. There's another pirush there. Shalish zamidas beinanis. Yesh emim zamidas daim.
No.
So midah beinanis is not so bad, so to speak. Midas daim is
The
mamish
fact is,
terrible.
what is Midas doing?
Right,
Is
exactly.
Midas doing when you don't give anything? Do
So
you
that's what he
want?
said. So there's the Tanakh that says midah beinanis, midas daim is what shmenei memenu mashu zenen v'zelei chaser klal. So what are the two ways to touch midas daim? There's two opinions.
No opinions.
One is opinion, we know that not the Tanakh. Yes,
One, to be Midas Beinanis, you have to give a little bit. But if you don't want to give even a little bit, some say, if you don't want to give a little bit, some say that's Midas Beinanis, some say no, if you don't want to give a little, that's already Midas Beinanis. That's the difference.
Who's some? Which the Tanakama says that Midah Bein is Shali Shalcha Shalcha.
Yes.
And Yashemrim says that's already Midas Daim. Midas Daim means if you don't, as soon as it's me alone and you alone, that's already Midas Daim.
Yeah,
According to Tanakama, that's not Midas Daim. You understand?
Okay, now,
Right.
yeah, whatever.
You understand?
Yeah. But I'm not sure exactly how it goes into the Tanakama and to the Dos. Okay.
No, because I'll tell you why. Look. The one who says Midah Bein is means Midas Daim is much worse. Midas Daim is Shali Shalcha Shali, for example.
That's the only way, probably.
Right. But the Tanakam, the Yashemim was saying Midas Daim, as soon as you even if I don't take from you, you don't take from me, it's already Midas Daim.
Oh. Mashenke the other one will say it's considered Midas Daim only if I
take away from you.
Now, one second.
Which is not what we're talking, because Teiru is not taking from anyone. Teiru just doesn't give.
Now, before he answers, he goes into the whole Reish Malef is just explaining the difference in Eir and Shefa.
Okay, what does he say?
The basic difference is
Let me just read one line, okay?
Go
The
ahead.
Tanakama Ika Midas Daim Hu Keshuminei Mimenu Mashazen Nenu V'Zelei Chasek Kla. Aber K'zeh Chasek Sas Ein Ze Midas Daim. Well, Yeshem Gam K'zeh Chasek Sas. Oh, I see what you mean. Saf Shat Tiki. Yeshem Gam K'zeh Chasek Sas. Anyone get that? The difference in Tanakama and the Yeshem?
We got a little confused in it, but
It sounds a little. It's a Ika Sheb
Yeah,
Ika
okay, no,
here.
go ahead, yeah.
So you got to resolve that
Yeah.
because it's not a Maim Ramuzgar. It's just.
I know. The difference is that according to one, if you give a little bit, it's still considered.
No, but to just explain what these words mean. Mishnei Kishmenei Mimenu, Mashazen Lenenu Zelei Chaser. Midas Daim is when he takes away from the other. But Mashazen Nenu Zelei Chaser Klal.
No, you would imagine. Listen, I'll tell you what he's trying to say. You would imagine that if I give a little bit, it's not Midas Daim. Okay? According to the Yeshemrim, it's also Midas Daim. Listen, this will clarify it.
But where's the giving? The Shali Shalcha. There's no giving, nothing. I'm me, you're you.
That's like a Midah Beinanis.
According to the Tanakama. But it's saying not that.
Oh no, there's a little bit of giving there. There's a little bit of giving. Shali, v'shalcha, even with a little bit of giving. That's the only way I
recognizing
understood it. Otherwise, I don't know.
Were you here by that? The two opinions in the Tanakama and the Yeshemrim. What's Midas Daim? What's not Midas Daim? The beginning of Perek Reish Mamal. You got it? Tov Mem Pei Zayin. Daf Koken and Mefashim Dort. Okay.
Right. It's all good. Shali, v'shalcha. I am holding back from you even the case of Zanan v'zelachos.
Not getting anything.
So that's that little bit. Oh, that's all good.
So one second. Shali Shalcha.
So
Yeah.
we're basically trading off, right? I have nothing, you have nothing, right?
I Zanan v'zelachos.
You meneya from you that part.
Oh, now I got it.
You're not giving me the opportunity?
That's the little bit that I was missing. Yeah,
It's
good.
meneya.
Good. There's a case of Zananim Zelechos. What do you give me if you don't miss anything? No.
Sure.
That's me the bit. Oh.
So
I know that was the machlek.
So the Yeshemrim says.
Yeah.
So Yeshemrim is lighter, is more lenient.
Yeah,
Yeshemrim
sure.
is more lenient.
For sure. Because it says that's Midas Daim already. That's bad.
No, because it says Kishachosik Tzas Harizem Midas Daim.
Yeah, but the Tanakam is talking about it's not.
No. The Tanakam is saying no. You're saying is right, but it's not. The Tanakam is saying Avol Kishazeh Chosik Tzas Ein Zeh Midas Daim. In other words, the Tanakam and Midas Daim. Let's get this clear. The Tanakama says Shalish Shalish is Midas Beinanis. The Yesh Eminem says that's Midas Daim.
Why?
So he's teaching here because by the
Yeah, why? Why is it Midas Daim? Because you menea something. What do you menea? Zananim Zelechos.
So he says the Yeshem Gam Kishachosik Tzas has a Midas Daim. Only when there's Chosik Tzas.
Which is what? Zananim Zelechos.
No, Lei Choser is not Choser at all. Chosik Tzas. I'm telling you, it's
One
confusing.
second. Yeah, it is a little confusing.
It's upside down. You're reading the beginning of the Perek.
Yeah.
What you're saying is correct, but it doesn't fit into the words. Maybe
Yeah,
there's
but
missing.
again,
Maybe it should say Gam she'eina chosek tzas.
Well, technically says, Ula Yeshem, Gam Shemim.
No,
That's what he says. That's why he says.
that's what I'm asking you. And according to Tanakam, it's not. It's because chosek says ain't zeh midas day.
We are confused. We decided that a little. If you lose a little bit, it's midas dem. If not, not. Like Shenkin, the other one says even if you.
It's there's something we have to look in the Mefarshim. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, the Teichen Advarim is clear.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
What you're saying basically is that the question is, if I don't miss anything, if I'm not losing anything, is that midas dame, or do I,
Yeah. We didn't figure it out exactly how.
The reason it's important because that's probably the answer ultimately to the question why Teo doesn't want to give, because he's not losing anything by giving.
Right.
So the question is that midas dame or not,
Right. Exactly.
or maybe it is losing a little because mashpia fort has
No,
to.
it's the nan v'zel chosid l'chayr.
No, but
Which is going to be.
no, but a mashpia to makabel always going to be a little choshev.
No, that's what brings in the concept of Aaron Shefa. Simon, listen. That's what brings in now the
Okay,
concept
so
of
tell me
Aaron Shefa.
let's go backwards. Okay, fine. We'll come back to this and understand.
That's why I'm not sure where he answers it. That's why.
Someone look up in the Mishnah with the Mefarshim. I'm sure it talks about exactly this. It's not the Rebbe Rashab Studishir. It probably talks what's the difference in Yeshemim and the Tanakam. Go ahead. So continue now. Continue the Hemshech.
Now he says, in order to understand that, darf verstehen the concept of Aaron Shefa.
And what does he say? Sum it up. Okay.
The difference between Aaron Shefa
Go
is, by the way, Aaron Shefa is both Eir. Oil itself can stay as Eir or can become as Shefa. That's Eir.
Right. And go ahead. So what's the difference between the Gela and Elaine?
The difference between Aaron Shefa is two things. First of all, the Eir is not affected. In Eir it's not affected, and in Shefa it is affected. Plus, by the Mekabel, he gets something. By Shefa, there's something that goes over from the Mashpia to the Mekabel, while in Eir, nothing went over. The Eir is Meir, and whatever happens, happens. That's the basic difference between Eir and Shefa. Okay? Which that's going to be the difference in Eir Makif and Eir Pnimi. Eir Makif is Meir, and is totally unaffected. Mashenken Eir Pnimi, which is Shefa, goes into Apnimius and is affected, and it affects. Plus, there's a content. There's something that goes over from the Mashpia to the Mekabel.
Mashpia loses something.
Okay, so let me just put
Wait. That's the next paragraph. Next page.
Look in the Kitzur of Perek Reish Mem Aleph. Again, he repeats it. See, maybe you can
What
figure
was the
out
problem with
the
the...
Yeshemim and the
We got
Tanakama.
confused several times on this.
What was the problem with the...
The Yeshemim and the Tanakama. What does he mean? It's something's missing here because the Cheda Shlish L'Chasher Chasher Chasher. We're talking about whether we have a connection with each other. Who cares about Chasser? There's something deeper here. Maybe at the end they'll say it. Okay. As a matter of fact, I once wrote a whole thing about it. I remember Brach in the cup, and I think I figured it out. Let me go look what I wrote. I wrote up analysis of this once.
I don't see the problem, sorry. I missed it.
So then tell us what is the Tanakama's pshat and what's the Machlekes?
Mishnah Perek August, each is Shalish Shali V'Shalach Shalach. Mine is mine, yours is yours, will be the Bainus. Make sense?
Go ahead.
V'yeshemim, that Shalish Shali V'Shalach Shalach, is Midas Dain.
Right, correct.
Why is it Midas Dain?
Because you have to give a little bit, right?
No, don't say. You tell us. You tell us. And go read the next 2 lines and say.
The Latane Kama, who says Shalish Shalach is Midas Bainus.
Go ahead.
Ikim, what's Midas Dain? When somebody says Shalish Shalach V'Shalach Shali, Shalish Shali V'Shalach Shali, for example, that's Midas Dain. Which is the Yeduadik understanding of Midas Dain. You have a Hana, I have nothing to lose. And it bothers me that you
That's for sure.
have Hana even though I have nothing to lose. Then Midas Dain. So far, so good.
No, but to say it in the word shali shalcha.
No. Kama doesn't hold that Shali Shalach Shalach is Midas Dain.
But what is the Midas Dain?
He holds Shali V'Shalach Shali is Midas Dain.
Okay, that we know, yeah.
Okay, so Tana Kama Ikim Midas Dain Mukashim Minea Minea from the second guy.
If I'm
going to be missing it a little bit by giving you,
Yeah.
even a little bit, and I therefore don't give you,
It's not
anything
Midas
Midas
Dain.
Dain.
Right.
So far, no problem yet.
Yeah.
But that says Shali Shali V'Shalach Shalach is Midas Dain. Gam kishachas ksachas is midas doim. It comes out that he's saying shalish shali v'shalach shalach zu midas doim. Why is it midas doim?
Where's the chasuk saz there? Where's the chasuk saz and shali shali shalach shalach? That's the question.
Shali shali v'shalach shalach is midas doim.
Why is there chasuk saz?
Because there are times where shali shalach you have nothing to lose, and that or very little to lose.
No, but why? But why is there chasuk saz? Maybe there's nothing to lose.
So there are times that's what he's saying. Shali shali v'shalach shalach with pashtus. It's if I'm going to give you shali, I'm losing a little.
missing this part of the mind.
With pashtus, a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old Mishnah boy. If I'm going to give away shali shali v'shalach shalach. If I'm going to give you away a little bit of mine, why is it midas doim? Okay, it may be selfish, but it's not midas doim. I'm losing a little bit. With pashtus, right? So why does the Yeshayim say it's midas doim?
Because even chasuk saz is midas doim.
Because
Even chasuk saz.
Times when you give, you don't lose.
there are times that you can give away a little bit of yours, but the guy's gaining so much,
And you don't lose.
you're losing a little bit. But Shalem Fiena, that's what he's saying. Shali Shali, Shalach Shalach, that is midas doim. Why? All I'm doing is not giving you what's mine, because what are you losing already? And you give the other guys again, your mom is giving up a little bit discomfort, or you're giving up a little bit something, and the other guy should gain. He says that's already also midas doim. No big pirushim. It's a simple pshat. There was a problem with the words.
No, because we were trying to read in Nana v'loy chassid in shali shali shalach shalach. You say shalach shalach or shalach
Shalach
shalach?
shalach.
Shalach. Okay.
Shelly. I don't know, my kids.
Okay.
I mean,
So that was the reason. Yeah, if you take it away from that, we were trying to read in Nana v'loy chassid and shali shali shalach. Where is it shalach shalach? Where is it?
and I'm reading it as opposed
As in
to
a separate union, I understand that.
in
Midas
contrast
doim-
to shali shalach v'shalach shalach, or shali shali v'shalach shalach.
independently, what you say. What the Mishnah talks about Zanan of Zalei Chassid? Is there?
Doesn't say that. Yeah, but you know that's midas doim. Saying that midas doim is midas doim.
That's Machlal. Yeah, that we know.
I read the Torah yesterday.
A different no, David.
Okay, so Erve Shefa.
David HaMelech got 70 years from Adam Arishin. What did he get from the office?
The rest of the
He
years.
gave the speech in 77, 10 years ago, but yes.
He got another. He got
He got also 70 years.
70 in different. Yeah.
But they didn't lose. They lost. And
Quality.
No. He didn't get 70 from Adam Arishin. He got total 70 between Adam.
No, Adam
got
got 70. Adam got
Look at
70.
Derech Mitzvah.
Adam got 70 for sure because there were 1,000 lived 930.
Right.
In the office, he got what?
It was not Yitzchak. Avram, Yaakov, and Yosef.
How much did he get from them?
I think it was 72.
Oh, but they didn't lose it.
Avram is fine.
Yeah, because
Avram
they
is
did
fine.
lose. Avram is
175
175. They all had to live 180. 147 to 80 is 53.
123 is 33.
Right.
Plus 5 is 38. You're left with the 70 is
110.
32. You're left with 32.
Right, and there's the 110 from Yosef.
Because
Yeah, but I remember
110 to
seeing somewhere-
1.2.
Why did you have to get two sets of 70?
That's some of that's the Sechler
Why?
speaks about. One is Primis, one is Chitzenius.
So that's probably one of some Ruchnistic 70.
Right.
In any case, has Simon.
I was just trying to help Nas.
Look. Okay, we also didn't figure out exactly.
Okay, so Erve Shefa,
Erve
we got it. So let me just put it in context in the whole
Go
Likud.
ahead.
Why is he going to? What's this Arichas
Finish the
Advarim?
mind.
Finished?
Yeah.
So the whole Arichas Advarim is like this. Is because remember, going back to the Shema, it's talking about the Mamutza. Remember, the Mamutza has to be a part is El Welt and a part is
Which
Alakus.
one?
We finished it. We're all about Nasser.
What's the Nase?
That's sure.
You didn't come a whole week with me.
Oh, I missed the beginning. I thought you were.
I'm sorry, Jimmy, what are you saying?
What's the tough
You
side?
don't have to announce it 3 times. They won.
Yeah, it was just we're almost there.
You and Simon.
It was here. I was here Monday, Sunday, Tuesday.
But it looked like a whole week, no?
So the whole Nikuda everywhere he's looking for is that something, the Mamutza, the interface, is part Welt and part Alakus. So everything you see is also the same thing here. Mashpi and Makabel. Do they give, are they connected with each other? Or here, Eir and Shefa. See, Eir is always more Alakus, Ein HaMoed. But it doesn't have Welt. And Shefa is always more Welt and less Alakus. So that's why it's on the Geya, because he's still trying to create everywhere. I'm saying that it's not my Mori Hamuzgat here. They went off.
Sure not.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
showing the connection.
Yeah.
It's always about getting back to the connecting of those two elements. And Tikkun is going to be the perfect place where they meet.
Right.
Where everything meets. Eris and Kalim, Mashpia, Mekabel, Mamala, Seviv, Eir, Shefa,
Our
everything
world
meets.
is a perfect world.
Tikkun. Not our world, Tikkun.
Yeah.
Asi is right from perfect, but Tikkun, Tzilis Ma, is the perfect world where Elokus and Welt meet. And it's all going to go back to Chachmas Tima, that's the interface, because that's what he's looking for. A place where there's Welt is Tefes Malkim and Elokus is there. And that you could have like a both are represented well, and you could have a real flow back and forth. That's the Nekuda. Because that's the challenge of Ayin Beis. How could you create a yichud from something that's so beyond? Remember, we asked all those questions. He asked all those questions. To something that's so defined, without destroying one another. The ikid, that's the yisod should be yisod. All of Chassidus, because all of Chassidus comes to see because there were Mekubalim that said, you know what, we don't really have all of Elokus. We have a little of it. Now other Mekubalim said we don't really have Welt, we have only Elokus. And no one found the fusion that you could be in Welt and have Elokus completely. That was the big dilemma. That's even the Rambam and Ramban. Why the Asadov the Schar is Rambam Schar can't be the Neshamas Beguf. It could be a Tkufet, but ultimately he didn't understand how Guf and Gashmis can be a Keli for Elokus. The Rambam.
The Rambam.
Yeah.
And the Ramban.
The Ramban said, yeah. Because the Ramban is the Chassidus Paschals like the Ramban, because the Ramban was already, because Ramban had
More of a Mekubal.
was a Makubal, the Rambam wasn't.
I said more of a Mekubal on purpose.
No. They're much
I didn't want to contradict
this is already documented.
No.
And the Rebbe brings it. I'll show you where it says Beferish. There's opinions that he been no Kabbalah, not even B'Seif Yomov.
Pushing.
It's not true. The Rebbe didn't change it. The Rebbe can't change that. The Rebbe's metavich.
There was
And says it's
that he
true.
did have exposure to Kabbalah.
No. I'll show you
There's halachas in the Rambam that they're only makkahs and zayah.
And then he brings into other places. The Frierdiker Rebbe brings Beferish and Sichris. The Rambam never knew Kabbalah. According to that day, that's it. They have a beer why he brings that stuff. The Ragachover says it's connected to Kabbalah. The Rambam doesn't say it's Kabbalah. The Rambam doesn't know where the Rambam says Beferish Kabbalah. It's Meforshim that say. Moshe, when he said you say Ramud HaChachmas. Meforshim say it's Yud Keva. Look, you know, the Rebbe is not passing on this. He brings both opinions very equally. I can show you. The Rebbe brings in letters. He brings the Migdaleh.
Right,
Says
that's what I'm saying. That's
there's
exactly
two
what I'm saying.
opinions. The Rebbe didn't have a third opinion. I mean, it's two opinions whether he knew or he didn't know Kabbalah. But Seif Yomov, and no one for sure he was not a Mekubal. If he was exposed to Kabbalah, that was the question.
It wasn't shy.
Now, is it Ishamis?
You
What's
want
the
to tell me
difference?
that Rambam knew Kabbalah and doesn't mention that ever? Come on.
No, that's not the point. The point is,
Yeah, he was dating someone.
what's
That's
that?
what
No, let me ask the difference between Rashbi and let's say Rab Meir. Rashbi was a Mekubal full-fledged. Rab Meir may have known Kabbalah. He was not known as a Mekubal. It's not, they only knew Chilkei HaTeirah. Like
He was not known as a
the Ragachover said that was all
Okay, where do you see Rashbi knew Kabbalah? In Zayah.
That means he didn't know. He knew, but
Simon, where do you see Rashbi knew Kabbalah? In Zayah.
yeah.
Ah, okay, thank you.
And
I'm not
good.
Gemara.
Yeah, but the Gemara's Merumas also, and they say, you know, that.
So all the Rabbi Yitzchak Pasach and the Rabbi Pasach, they brought in Zayah, they were Kabbalah? All the Rabbi Yitzchak Pasach and Zayah, all the different Rabbi Abba.
No, the word Talmidei
Those
Rashbi.
characters mentioned in Zayah, it's Elohim. Are they automatically Kabbalah Marai because they're
Yeah, for sure. You know, you look in by the way, there's a you know Sefer Shemer Amunim, the Agdama to it from Rabbi Yosef Yergas. He has Agdama, the whole Ishtalshus of Kabbalah. It was a fact that Kabbalah was learned only by Yechidus Gula. What about the other Talmidei Chachamim? Look, the Tzemach Tzedek brings what he says. Who says it? The Shas Rivash. He says Ani Mispal Dazer Tinik. That was Talmud Kubal. He was saying that the Kabbalah was Mechaven and Ala Shemus. Ani Mispal Dazer Tinik. There was even among Dalim there was. It wasn't a machlekes whether it was emes. It was machlekes whether it was needed for everyone. And until that result was takanat mitzvah legal chachma. Anyway, but to go fine. The point I'm making here is that the mamutza is, and this is the chiddush of Chassidus Chabad 100%. That the nekud is that you can have mamish welt, you can engage. Because if not, ultimately the goal would be that we should be prushim. You know, you have to be in welt the minimum because they have to the ragashik. There was such a shitta. You be in the Welt of a minimum, but you don't engage, not the B'tachtein. The whole concept of shlichus, to go out. Why is Satmar wrong? What's wrong with build a Jewish community? So, Elam Hazan? Listen, we're in Elam Hazan, you have to eat
You
and
want to hear a
sleep.
good story since it's Sunday? We have time.
Now, let me just say, no,
Yeah.
it affects, it's not just a nice thing, go on shlichus because koch nefesh. Because you can answer, who says you have to engage the world? Who says maybe you have to develop? That's Ayin Beis. So good, the Meraglim were wrong. They didn't want anything. They said. But who said how much you have to go into the Welt? You can go in, like Shidduchim used to go. They did a little parnasa. The darm the ganzen Tag. But if the Gidrei Elam is if there's a mamutza also to the Welt, then and without compromising a lakus, it changes the whole way how we engage with the Welt. It's still we still have to engage al pitei and al pialocha, but it's not an union of precious. There's no precious, and there's except maybe Yechidus Gula and stuff like that.
So in the time that the Rebbe Rashab and previous, they looked at it the same, what you're saying, they looked at it the same way we're looking at it today?
It's an excellent question. We always ask that question. But let's go back to the Alter Rebbe, because they were definitely Fiyarachas Prushim. They lived
No,
in
but
this.
Alter Rebbe said, Mashiach had Kumas, it's
It's all being documented. This is just for the record. This is Monty Folgerman breaking bagels. I just want them to know.
It's gonna go
kind of
relevant.
Because he heard us. Dat ze geen engaged Welt. Het is een genoemde Welt.
Started to go too high.
Oh, but Mashiach had in the Gazette.
It's an excellent question, and let me tell you something. The Rebbe brings a few times. You probably saw this. You say Chutza Menesach Chutza. The Mashiach told the Baal Shem Tov. What's meant Chutza? So Yikutayich Chutza means in Yaleh in Tilim in Samach Tzedek says Chutza is midas legabe mechen. The Rebbe brings it.
The reason put the six, the first
Yeah.
shot of Chutzah,
Yeah.
first of all.
So that okay, you could say nish midas means me. I should do also with not just me but with my children, or with you, with friends. The Rebbe adds chutz shein chutz mimena. So the Rebbe's asis, because it wasn't even possible. The Alter Rebbe, they were all from Eden. What was chutzah? Chutzah was dealing with the czar because he had no choice. You know, you had to explain to him a little chassidus.
Chutzah of the Pasha was dealing with every other Yid.
Right. But also, how far did they go to
So
Eden?
other from Yidden.
Yeah, bring chassidus. But till the Rebbe,
And they were successful.
The Rebbe brings. Why do you think the Rebbe brings so many times? By Be'ayres Atera Zeis, Shivim Loshen, the Frierdiker Rebbe started translating. Because for the Rebbe, that was the yesod of you have to start going out. And Frierdiker Rebbe said many times that coming to Chatzik Kadra Tachten, Frierdiker Rebbe didn't want to come. It was not berotzen, al korchach. But once he came, he understood that it was Ashgoch al Yena. And now came the bitter even Chatzik Kadra. It always been Matan Teir is nish gewen in Chatzik Kadra Tachten. Why is it so negate to say that? Because this is the chutzah that not the Alter Rebbe did not have. The way if Mashiach would have come, the way it was then, it would have been then. And what would have happened with America? Like it says, the air would reach everywhere, Mamayla Lamata. But to go everywhere, and this is Vayeshev Nun Beis, the Rebbe makes it very tough. Nun Beis. That you have to go everywhere. That the whole thing is that Mamat Lamayla means there's Jews in every mokken. The answer is, I would say that they were the dugma, like if other Marishan in Chava would not have eaten from Chetzadas. So the Terer says the Gula would have come, but it would have been like a avuka, but Meshach Kalan Etzutz. So the Fiyerech, like a big what a flame, what's a avuka? That draws the sparks. Instead of you going to the sparks, drawing the sparks. In Shari Eda, there's a lot about this. Mashenkin, over the generations, what happened was that the birur became more and more matla maila. And there's no question that Rebbe Rashab, compared to us, is mamayla lamata, l'fiyerech. I mean, they had their yisodahs there.
The Kudim must be there even from the Alter Rebbe's time.
No, the philosophy is always there. The question is viful lamata. And it was only because, like the Frierdiker Rebbe wouldn't have come to America lechatchila. That's what the Rebbe is saying. It was because the Eibushin Gewalt Azeh. So he would have stayed there in Russia if nothing would have happened, and it would have been, But remember, after the fact, once it's a bit of matlamayla, the bit of shalei berach echus deeper, because matlamat it's never as powerful as when it is like that. However, it's much more painstaking and much harder, etc., etc. I tell you, I think this is what the Rebbe, even within the Rebbe's kuf is Nesiya's gufa. If I may say this before Gimel Tam is after, because what the Rebbe said, Chav Ches Nissen, and put in Mem Zayin, was exactly that. He said, "Ei ilu zachinu." The Rebbe said, "Lacher yidu b'yugia." Ilu zachinu, vol gven hanasi hu akel. That means the nasi would have done the main thing, but ibegang from hanasi to akel. What's that? That's mamash from a mile in the Rebbe gufa. and that's a major. And he says, "It's totally a knife." The contract, Mem Zayin put it. The contract, so to speak, the bus. What? No, I was saying like this. The Rebbe said, at the beginning of his leadership, he said, Tavshin al Baslagani, he said, Deir Hashvi, what was the contract? And this, it was always, everyone knew this, and I talked to everyone from day one, that do my shlich, as the Rebbe said. You go, whatever I ask you to do, and I'll take care of the rest. Do mitzvahim, whatever it would be, I'll take care of the rest and bring the gula. And Tavshin Mem Zayin, the Rebbe suddenly asked the question, so why didn't the gula come in all this time? He said, you can't say it's a Eis Ratzon, meaning that it was auspicious and time passed. He says, because my Shver printed that Mashiach would come in the beginning of in the 40s. Yeah. And the Rebbe answered these words. I heard this Sikha maybe 100 times, so I know it like word for word. It was put in Bem Zayin. When the Rebbe said it, nobody even noticed. It was so buried in the Fabrengen of 6 hours.
It's similar to that against Hakov.
The Rebbe said like it's Achrei Ribu Yigiyah. Never said such an expression. After a lot of, how do you say Ribu Yigiyah? A lot of
inspection.
La'achre Ribu Yigiyah. Purim Mem Zayin. You got to hear that Sikha. It's exactly Chav Ches Nissen 4 years later. I think the 5th. Middle. I mean, it's not blind. It's a good half hour. Not half hour, good 20 minutes. The Rebbe says like this. The einzige Bier was gefunden. I mean, the Rebbe should say that. That's big. That means that after the Rebbe's struggling, the only answer he found was that because like this. If we were Zeicha, we had this kashrus to the Rebbe, then he would have done everything. But since that's missing, it goes over from the Rebbe to the people. The Rebbe said, basically.
Yeah.
You could
Basically, it's a lost case.
I know, that's what the shock.
Well, one second. But then the Rebbe said Sunday after Chav Ches Nissen, when the woman said that, she said, Rebbe, do it after Stan. He says, Ebirn David, du sagst.
What?
So ich has did after Stan. The woman after that, Chav Ches Nissen, said, we can't do it. You have to do it. You're the Rebbe. So she said, if you're saying that, I'm telling you, you could do it. Means he gave the keches. How you twisted, he said it. You could explain it from today to tomorrow. To me, it's exactly the teichen of this. Absolutely, because it's mamish stims with the whole. Now, of course, we would have loved it the other way, but for whatever reason, it's not that way. And listen, the Rebbe's words were fulfilled. K'mon l'tzlan, k'pshute. After Chav Ches Nissen, 11 months later came Chav Zayin Adar. The Rebbe was sitting and waiting for 2 years. Came to Gonj Getan, and now it was another 17 years waiting. Mevad for David Kivman. To realize that all state is only a shlav to another madreg.
That part he realizes. Remember? He has to just
What do we do after
do
that?
something about it.
We talk to each other. That's it. To me, that's the bottom line.
And that's why Steve Jobs is.
And that's why what Ayin Beis. Look, I say like this. Ayin Beis. Now going back to that, but here's the circle. So Ayin Beis prepared the way to explain philosophically what the Rebbe is being implementing. Basically, what's the philosophical basis? They can go mamish mata lamata. And there has to be an interface. I have no question that Rebbe Rashab was miyasatem chitvim. He understood. He said clear in the Sikha Kol Yetzel Mechamas B'David that there would be such a generation, but he didn't yet have it because he was still in Russia. But he said the seeds. Imagine what. Remember before the Rebbe Rashab, Bochim were pishers. They're still pishers. But you know what a pisher is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That
word, you know.
He's not sure which word you
Bochim, you don't even hear about Bochim. Bochim weren't even allowed into a Maimer. Some tzaddiks, Alter Rebbe's time, they were kids. It was Alter Chassidim. That's you don't even know there was a bacher. You don't even have one name of a bacher, not one. And the Rebbe Rashab turned it around and realized. He said clearly because he realized he said the generation's changing, times are changing, you need soldiers. Basically set the tone that there'd be. That's why the Rebbe makes such a big thing of that. He created an army that would. What would the Rebbe have if there was no Temchim? We were still going to Panovich. Where would we be going? Which yeshivas would we be going?
created the Rebbe's army.
It would have been ridiculous. It would have been a joke. So it's clear. I mean, this is all like came after the fact. The question is, Rifel Deshir, how much down we have to go? Matla Maila.
And I didn't get.
No, but that's not in the Dovasov. It can be forever.
Oh, how long you're asking?
Yeah. Since we're on the topic, I saw something when I was once researching. I want to mention this because I don't know if you ever read the philosophy of Chabad from Nissen and Del.
Long time ago.
It's brilliant. It's dense, it's philosophical, but the Rebbe has touched it a lot, you can see. I mean, I can see it in a second. And I asked him, I remember he wrote it early as well as his thesis, so the Rebbe edited everything those days of his. There's pieces there, mamish.
You wrote before 1950?
Yeah. And I don't know when it was published, maybe later, but the Rebbe, those days, everything, every stupid thing he wrote, the Rebbe edited. You know, you have all kinds of stuff. He was the guy. I don't know if it's that's.
Because he wrote English.
Anyway, so he has there's mamish. I asked him, he didn't want to tell me what. He was older already. I asked him, are there pieces that Rebbe Mamish wrote in Hebrew, you wrote in English? He says, yeah, for sure. So I asked him about one piece, because I could not believe he wrote that. He said, the whole thing the Rebbe wrote. Mamish Chidushim Nifloim. The Rebbe writes there, the big question we always ask, if Adam and Chava would have not eaten from Eitzadas, Mashiach would have come down. Which means Tachlis had the Tachtenim and all the Giluyim, everything. If it would have happened in Moshe Rabbeinu's times, it is. You know, all the generations. So really, what really is the Chiddush of Mashiach comes now over there? What's really the difference? Or different issues. Since it's going to happen anyway, what difference does it make if we do more Aveda, less Aveda? You're going to sleep. Good. The question is whether you have the schus to be part of the work. But in Inyan and Layidach and Menonidach, everyone's going to be redeemed. So what taka is? Why is it so important that we have to work as a... And who cares if it's a day later or a day earlier? I'm not talking about the Tsar from Golis. You know, so it comes a day later.
Results.
And the Rebbe writes this, it's mind-blowing, to me at least. The Rebbe writes like this, that Zman, time, is also, needs to be nisbared. Every second we're in Golis, and Gula comes a second later, that second will never be a Gula Dika second. Will forever remain on the other side. So when we work, we actually taking elements of, like, imagine that you wouldn't be mavad a certain mokim. You made it, huh? So in other words, that's why the Rebbe so gave a nefesh that it should come a day early. Because you could say it's going to come anyway tomorrow. So good, it's true. It'd be nicer today, but it means that, especially like a neshama, like God forbid, if we don't get every Jew that's this, the Jews that into marriage, no way that they're going to remain Jewish in the next generation. And that's it, lost forever as a Jew. Isn't that Nedidik?
Whenever it's all battles for Zman, for the dinner in Zman.
It's not a small battle.
When you do tshuva, doesn't that rewrite history?
It's a good question, but I don't know if it makes Geula out of the past. You can redeem the past. I don't know if it turns the years of Golos. Let's put it this way: if you brought the Geula in 1930, there wouldn't have been a Holocaust. So it's not just the Zman; it's also what happens in that Zman. Now, good, you redeem it all, and it'll be Aliyas and Allah Zachem, but there's things that remain so-called. Anyway, I'm just sharing that. I don't know how we got over that. So let's continue, right?
What? When you said about Satmar, I'm telling you that when my father went to Italy.
Held cup.
Yeah. You meant Satmar. My father went to Italy.
To Rome.
First year, so the Satmar Rebbe came then. He came whatever next to Milan.
Yeah.
My father went to see him. And the Rebbe started in Shluchis and all
I got you, by the way, your emails.
He should also start sending us
Steve Jobs.
Yes. It was Leider Schubenfeld was the guy, Rabbi Heller's grandfather. Wasn't it?
I decided to put a Kana.
Is it something
You give it a
He was in When he came to Switzerland, he lived in Switzerland, whatever. So he told him, he said, mine
You
will
asked me
not
what
What does that mean?
Mine will not
Last. They won't
They won't
last.
last.
Stop.
They won't bear it.
I got it on Yom Kippur, by the way.
Wow. You won't get it. You won't get no lunch.
I sent it a few hours before, but it takes time sometimes.
He'll tell you they have that
I wasn't
These
working
guys all
on
the
Kippur,
time.
that's what you want.
They're convinced that the guys are sleeping.
So how do you explain the next pedic with Makif and Pnimi? The Aces. I see everything is the Aces of Zanan of Zaleh Chosser.
Yeah, one second. Memalef or Membeis? Memalef, you got it.
Memalef, we more or less, yeah.
Okay.
So Memalef, bottom line is.
Eren Shefa. And
So Shefa is Zeh Chosser, because there's no.
at the end of the day, Makif is and Pnimi is Shefa.
Okay, so Pnimi is Chosser because it's a Gitza Chibur.
Oh, okay.
And Makif remains detached, so it's Zanan of Zaleh Chosser. Correct?
Yes.
Which is
Now,
negated.
he doesn't go into the Zanan as
Is that right? Are you with us in this?
You're in the beginning, everyone's with you. You're in the beginning of the ice.
No. We're summarizing it now. So okay, next us.
He didn't introduce Zanan as Al-Chasam until Rishon Beis. Rishon Beis, he reintroduces Zanan.
Okay.
Anybody have a pen on them?
Yeah.
I never go anywhere without a pen. My pen disappeared.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
Is it hot here? I'm imagining.
hot.
Or just
Why
open
not?
the door.
Go-
maybe.
go-
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, now Reishman Beis.
Sukkah is better to be hot or cold.
Sukkah's better to be
Well, it's good weather for Sukkot. In any case,
Supposed to rain Wednesday night.
Can move on.
It's like Weber and Sukkot night.
But then you can really show that you're in a circle.
Yeah.
We're just talking about praying for rain. You know.
You eat now.
no.
My nephew told me he's in a restaurant. And the guy was in snag with a sandwich. He was looking outside.
Medium.
1 year it was going to rain.
He was waiting for it to rain.
One year.
Started raining, huh?
1 year. I
one
think my
second.
brother is a birthday at Yom Kippur, so I meet him. So he says to me, I'm sure it's going to rain Sukkah. That means I have to
Take out the water.
He only eats when it rains.
Take out the water. Yeah, it's hot.
Remember the
In the Sukkot.
Yeah, it's running already. I heard a few days ago.
There's some Chassidus that eat in a Sukkah only when it rains.
Ah.
Thank cousin, Borach.
You know
He
what?
said to me once, it's going to rain. Oh no, I got to eat in a Sukkah.
Is this long enough? That reaches over there?
They say when it rains in the
Nietzsche.
sukkah, it's the time that God says He wants some private time with Chabad.
Is this long? How long is this?
Right?
Is this long? Does it reach over there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like Mashal Pesach, I think it's Uncle Davros. I was in a hotel with him. But Sudas Mashiach, he's there, and then someone did not do it. The Mishnah didn't like it. It's not Fred. It's a mamash war,
Really?
major war.
That Apple TV.
Doesn't care. Where were you by lunch?
Where were you
What's the
going?
difference where I was? Playing volleyball.
Not
Whatever.
Apple TV.
Yeah, you should Mashiach Sudas. That's
An Apple charger.
Does it reach over there?
what is that?
Steve Jobs is not here now.
Okay, so Perek Reishman Beis. Can you just sum up so we know?
Okay, 1 second.
So now what?
You may want to do it again if you want. I don't care. But basically,
I could do the kitzur. Here, ben makar zen nenesh hamakiv peil boy. Wo ikar achayis.
no. Wait.
Zel echosher shegam put him on.
Put it over there.
Oh, this is the Ayin Shnin. Okay, fine.
It's not even a dish.
Okay. So you can put it in the water back.
Sorry.
Oh, but that's still
Okay, I got it. We don't need to review it. I got
Okay,
it.
no
I'll
problem.
review it myself.
1 second. But do you feel that there's an answer already for the question?
Well, we don't have to feel. I'd like to see it from the Rebbe himself.
Okay, because we're discussing whether there's an answer
There's
already.
for sure an answer, but
But it's not. It's
maybe he asked-
it's building a case here.
Building
Building a
okay.
case.
But by the way, I don't know if you noticed they introduced within Makif, there's Makif Kloli, Makif
You
Pros.
see, here's what's negated. Now I know I was saying it. With one of the Rebbe's things in the Sichos about Shlichus, I'm bringing it to because I think it mamish this. The Rebbe's pulas are mamish this in Ma'aseh This is the philosophy, the askol of it. One of the big things the Rebbe would answer, people would say, if I gave Shlichus, that the gefallen by mid-side in Lebanon and Davna. In other words, they're chassid. So in other words, when you tun Welt, felt Badaina Lakus, and the Rebbe said, Beferish not. Not only because you're helping that person, because it'll be, I can't
find it. It's in the Chut Torah. So I remember
That's
That's
what it says,
So
Kipshut.
where's the Chut Torah?
In Era Teire Bereshis Chelik Vov.
It's not in Torah.
No. Era Teire Bereshis Chelik Vov, and that might be Vayechi. It's second the Likutei Sichos. It's nicht nur a Guzme Kipshut Mamish. Because there he brings the Gemara is that you see it's Kipshut. It's not just a Moshe.
Have you seen this?
That's in Era Teire. The Likutei Sichos Pasha was all printed in Era Teire. It was once printed. It's a whole Pasha by itself.
Where do you see it in Avolasanin?
No, so I'm saying that he's going to get to that because he's trying to say here, the Mamutza, that you see, Toyu, you could think Toyu in a way is holier than Tikkun. Ich tue in meine Aveda, I don't have to do with you. You do whatever you want. I'm doing my thing. I'm connected to Lakus. The Tikkun Lecher is a compromise because I have to nemzach with a Makabel, and Chesed has to do with Gvura, and Gvura with Teferes. And the answer is going to be no. If when Mashpia and Makabel are connected, they have their Ma, and that bittul creates the real yichud between Lakus and Velt, the real Mamutza. And Toyu is Beferish Astir. In other words, this type of idea of, let's say, a Koil mentality. I'm just touching the Kedusha, not Matzat Klippa. Let's say like the Talmid in Rabbi Akiva that I have everything I need. I don't need to give you, don't give me, like that. That's Midas Dame ultimately. That's what it's going to be. That's Midas Dame, according to the Yeshem. Because bottom line is, it's not the Kavona, etc., etc. And you also not B'Shleim is that way. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, it's unbelievably fundamental. That's why I'm connecting because it's not Stama Lahamtikain. The Rebbe Shabbos been writing these pages. He wrote it because he's coming to explain what the whole thing. It's made it. If you understand it as Mamutza, the more I'm reading, It's unbelievable.
The Kohen Gadol.
Because now I understand. I did not know.
Everything fits in.
Yeah. Samach Vov, by the way, does not come to explain Mamutza. That's not the Kavanah. The other Kavanah is Aveda B'Kei Chatzmei. This whole Hemshech is how you create a Mamutza between Elikus and Welt.
So he's saying that the students of Rabbi Yehuda was had these stuff.
Yep.
That's why I read yesterday.
Ultimately, yeah.
I read yesterday on Mark when the high the Kohen Gadol went up to find out what's going to happen. The Malachim told him
Put back their work.
not the beg God. He's this close away to destroying the whole. He's very close to destroying the whole world.
Yeah.
I read that yesterday. Blew me away.
Well, the Malachim, yeah. They come to cry. Yeah.
This thing you said before regarding
Thanks.
the.
Okay.
English, I use it in English.
This thing you said before regarding the man of and speaking in Tshuva, as in a higher reading is the stack of the Chal, Mishkinik from Gam, Mishkinik from Kabbalah. Say what do we do Tshuva? Hashem give Tshuva is Vibals and Gilui, but it's not going to Tshuva to be valid.
By the way, I don't know if you noticed, at the end it brings in Nefshel Gis Nefshel Amis.
I saw that. Yeah. Same thing.
So they combine.
And Mesesef Eir, the Nefshel
So would that mean Tikkun and Teo going together?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
When's he going
No,
to
it's very good to bring those examples. Why? Because Sof Kol Sof, you sit with a Talmud Chacham, you explain to him the shit of the Rebbe. You can't. You just say Pekuach Nefesh. That's not the only reason. It's not just because you're saving Jews. It has to be negated to the Kavanah. Because then the Rebbe should have sent a. Anyway, so Noseh, you're up to the beginning of the Maimer or the first Perek?
No, we didn't start.
So let's go. Anyway, to me it's helpful to review it. I don't know about you. I think it's
I'll direct that with an extra gist that the ultimate is the Teo and Tikkun together.
yeah, for sure. The Rebbe says Eir is the Teo and Kalim the Tikkun.
Either side, either if you're gonna, it's a selfish thing. You're gaining. Nine definitions is gained by being environment, selfish and harm. That's just motive is selfish.
No, but that's why he said earlier that the motive is bittul because the kavanah. Look in Perek. He asked exactly that. Look Perek Reish Lamed Tes. But Be'em is a head and
Hold it, because most probably
Reish Lamed Tes.
I'm going to go back to it.
There is an element that you benefit, not say for Tchilosa when you said the Mashpia. It's an element benefit, but self consumption is because the
I'm trying
kavanah.
to figure out maybe in here.
The Abish made it that you should feel benefit.
It's still in the middle.
It's really. Yes, nothing like that. There's nothing wrong with that. The Rebbe said that was slippery too. Okay, let's.
We're still in the middle of it.
So let's start Noseh.
Right.
Okay, so we have is the following. We have the following. He's in the middle of explaining Teyu. He's really trying to explain the two, the Tanakam and the Yesh Emin of Zen and of Lechasr or Yechasr. And he's explaining it in the context of, remember, he's still in the middle of the question. He didn't answer why Teyu won't give Mitzad Gadlus. Okay. So we're up to Noseh now.
Well, what was the godless of Zdaim that therefore they didn't want to give?
Das ist nicht gewinnt gerne, das. Adam, das ist nicht gewinnt mit Sadagadas.
First of
Here
all,
he's saying by Teo Mashenk with Sadagadas, this is not.
First of all, this doesn't say Zdaim is Teyu. It says it's mid Zdaim. Zdaim could have been much worse than Teyu.
What's worse than Teo?
Klippa, real Klippa. Teyu is not Klippa. Klippa is Teyu's Tefa Kakadusha.
We touched on something very interesting when we were learning about Zdaim. We realized that Zdaim dictated a very interesting type of economy.
Yeah, no
An
commerce.
economy where you don't need to come on to everybody else around you. Everyone is
Like we were Mispal yesterday in the Ila.
Yourself, yeah, exactly.
Everyone is self-sufficient, which is exactly the opposite.
Yeah, but that's economy. That doesn't mean everything else. What about the Lebanon Teda? What about things that we do
I think
together?
the other things they did with other
We're
people,
talking about that part of it.
according to what it says in this stuff.
What does that mean? The oven came to the oven temperature?
As they stayed, they said they check them out. They wanted to check the guys out. When they came by what's his name? By light. So they did do other things.
Look, we know that Ishtach is Gafin, Ishtach is Teinose is sometimes a klola, sometimes a brocha. The brocha is that everyone's at peace, but the klola is everyone thinks only about himself. The Rebbe said it about the Russian Jews when they came out of Russia and they came to America. One Ishtach is Gafin, Ishtach is Teinose. Everyone has a bank account. That didn't exist. There were no retirement accounts. There were no investments. So, the Shal is, but he could be in America and still. It is the Teon Kelim the Tikkun. Okay. So Noseh Reish Bnei Gershon Gam Heim. So in Ayin Daled Tov Peish Tov Tzadik. The Tzarch Lav Ma'ayin Nesiyas Reish. What's in Nesiyas Reish? The lifting of the head. V'chein b'chlol Shivti Yisrael Ksi b'Parsha B'Midbar Su'ul Es Reish Kol Adas Bnei Yisrael. that same lashon, same idea is brought in Pasha Bamidbar. Su'ul, lift, count, raise the head of all the entire kehillah, the entire community of Bnei Yisrael. And verstehen, why do we need to lift the head? It's interesting the style that Rabbi Rashab, that he says that, like, if he didn't end what would be missing? But he like really drives the question home. It's like a loshna, siglan azan. So since a reish is such a high madrega, such a high level, why do you have to lift it? Why do you have to raise it to another? Where are you raising it? Ubemedrash Rabbah, Nosei Parshavov, Isa, Harihodek Siv, Lo Yigara Mitzadik, Einov, Eina Kosh Baruch Menei Dugme Didhu. Pirish Matnas Kohona, Mashech Feitzim Boy Vekevin Dugmosei Umagmas Neged Einom Velibam. Mosei Neged Einom Velibam. Was meint das? Lo Yigara Mitzadik Einov, Eina Kosh Baruch Menei Dugme
What's the Taich? What does that mean?
You don't have to know Taich the pasuk. Yes, he says.
Oh, okay.
Why not? It wouldn't hurt. Yeah, come on, David. You're the local. You're the resident. Lo Yigara Mitzadik Einov, Eina Kosh Menei Dugme Didhu. That's the medrash. The pasuk. Now let me continue. Yaakov Chamed es habchera l'shem shamayim v'kadosh baruch hu hisim v'kara b'nei b'cheri. This man is going to mashach feitzim by v'kevin dugmasei magmas neged einam l'libam. I think it means something like this: that when tzaddikim want something, it's not mitzad selfish reasons, it's mitzad a higher reason. Something like that. That's a teichem for sure.
You can't find it in the whole Tanakh.
That makes more sense to talk about the selfish cause.
Yeah. You hear? I don't know the Lashon Eiz, but Lo Yigara Mitzadik Einov, it means when a tzaddik wants something, it's not for personal reasons.
Lo Yigara Mitzadik Einov.
When a tzaddik wants something, he's not going to be deprived it. The Eibishter will give it to him.
Oh. It is in Iyay Pamet Vav. Hein Keil Kabir, the Lo Yimas.
Oh, okay.
Kabir Keach Leiv. Lo Yichai Rasha. Mishpat Aniyim Yitain. It's referring to the Eibush, I'm assuming. Lo Yigra Mitzadik Einov. He will not diminish his eyes from the tzaddik.
Right.
Because Melachim Lakise.
So Eina Kosh Baruch Hu Menei Dugme Didhu. The Eibishter will not deprive him of something. That's what it says. Mashech Feitzim Bei. What a tzaddik wants, the kevin dugmose magmas neged einam v'libam. They give it to him. That's why. So Yaakov.
Magma is a goal, is an objective.
Right. So let's go. Let's continue. So Yaakov chamad es b'chabcheda. Yaakov desired to be the b'char, the shem shamayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu hiskim v'kara b'nei b'chedi.
I get it.
And the Eibishter therefore gave it to him.
Yigra mitzadik. He will not withhold from the tzaddik ein of what the tzaddik sees that he desires. Or wants.
Right.
So why did he have to go through all that?
That's another question, but there's a reason for that.
Yaakov had to go through all sorts of...
V'im
to show that he really wants it.
Okay, let's continue. V'im l'cheshach adam. Im l'cheshach adam.
What they want, their objective, what they want.
V'aloi gershen b'chayr ha'yeh lama higdim ha'kosov l'kahos l'nasiyas reish. It's all the medrash.
Wait, Yaakov Chaim said, "B'chayr l'shem shel." Oh,
okay. Let's continue. V'im l'cheshach adam v'aloi gershen b'chayr ha'yeh lama higdim. What's im l'cheshach adam? I'm not sure. Anyway, b'chayr gershen was the b'char. So why does the pasuk start kahos by the nasiyas reish b'nei kahos?
I'm looking for you l'cheshach adam over here in the passage.
Alei geshem b'chayr lama higdim ha'kosov l'kahos. One second. What's the question? He was the b'char, so of course he's magdim. Af ata omerlei mipnei shekahos hayimeteinei ha'aron shem etein mebnei gershno yipchusim mehem l'kach nemar gam heim sheyishogim b'shvil kavod atei higdim b'nei kahos. Okay.
Yeshua was b'chayr.
1 minute. V'im, it's a lashon in medrash. V'im lachashecha adam, a person whispers to you. If someone's going to whisper to you. It's a lashon ha-medrash.
Yeah, lachisha. Yeah, okay.
Even Lachashcha Adam. It's going to tell you 1 minute. Halay Gershon b'chay hayam lama higdem akasav l'kahas.
So tell him.
When it says, but the word Nasi is Rosh B'nei Kahas is at the end of Seder Bamidbar.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Why is
so why is Kahas come first when Gershon was the B'chad? It's not like Yaakov.
Gershon Kahas Benari.
Yeah. So he answers because of Teinei Yod, because of Kovet HaTeira.
After Moila, you'll answer this guy. That's why he's mentioned first. Wait, what does that have to do with Yaakov Chaman Sabachaya?
Because he's saying it's not the same. Because there, 1 second. Let's continue. 1 second. Shemetem b'nei Gershon b'chei. Chach nemer him.
You'll say Kahas comes first because they were talking Gershon was plus in him. Not, it was not because Teinei Yod, but because Gershon was talking on a lower pedestal.
So he says Gam Heim. That's not. That's Shavim. They were Shavim, but B'shul Kovet HaTeira. What's going on with this oil business here?
The shaman. Red across the rest da, you know. So like shaman, should is right.
Aber Mekemes Acherim higdim leGershon.
Where?
No, in other places Gershon does come first. Only here.
Oh, everywhere else.
Yeah. But Tzorach Lahavin, Ma Shaychus. It's like a chicken market here today. But Tzorach Lahavin. The Tzorach Lahavin, Ma Shaychus Teirel and Siyas Harej, Mishum Zehigdim Lebnei Kos.
Dafkin, by comes to this area of Torah, that's when Torah comes in and you say Yimak.
She's asking what's the Shaychus of Teirel to the Siyas Harej, because of that, Higdim Lebnei Kos. V'afal Pish Higdim Lebnei Kos, Mokom Mokom Shneim Shovim.
Even after the Hagdama,
yeah.
they still remain Shneim Shovim.
V'lama Davke Gabi in the Siyas Rosh, Higdim Bnei Kos Mishum Kovet HaTeira. Okay, fine. Right.
A real taking apart an analysis of the process. Mamish, it's like the Chama Libut's 18 times over in 5 sentences.
Okay. Well, you want to quote Steve Jobs now too?
Steve Jobs, we could say Lahavdol. Chama Libut
White House sent out a thing about it all over the place.
Meaningful Life sent out a whole video. What you say? I was
Meaningful
quite
What's
surprised.
the Bible said this Ayin Beis. Okay.
Meaningful life.
That's good.
Nobody would say that.
No. Who's time for that now?
I don't even know what was said here.
No, it's going to use
He said meaningful life. The word is meaningful life.
No, I seen your moment.
I'm not insulted. The Rebbe flags sagen. At the basis for the New York Times is Tove Love Bracha. Anyway.
One time by dollars, the Rebbe said Milan and Gold from New York Times.
Yeah. Und wenn Metz get gebracht, the New York Times zum Rebbe mit the first ad, hat der Rebbe gesagt, allgemeiner. He was shocked, you know? Okay, well, the Hoven calls
I never read more the argument than the New York Times.
I know. Well, the Hoven calls
You know what he know, but how do you know? I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. I'll tell you why, because the New York
New York
Times
was just clippings.
Exactly, and argument was the whole thing.
And the Sikh was definitely longer in argument than any article from the New York Times that he read.
He learned the Sikh.
Like my grandfather said, I feel that the date is a sheker. They printed the night before. Algemein was definitely printed Bamers the last second. Because the printer wouldn't want to print otherwise.
You get paid.
Right. So made it. Well, the Hoven calls it Yesh Lahagdi Mashamar Azal. Okay, the Mishnah. Ime Shali Shali Shalach Shalach Zeh Mida Beinenis. V'Hashem Zeh Mida Zdein. Das hat Hamakama Midas Zdein Ukishemenei Hashpa Shezeh Nene V'Zeh Lechoser Kla.
He holds up the opportunity.
In other words, it was called a Pashut Mailet for you, a Pashut Pshat. We were going too deep here. Pashut Tanakama, Midas Dame is a different thing. This is not this mission here. Shali Shalach, that's a different place. Zene V'Zeh Lechoser, that's Midas Dame. It has nothing to do with this mission. Shali Shalach Shalach is not Shalach Shalach is not Midas Dame. It's a midah beinis. That's the but the Yeshem suddenly introduces the word midas daim into the Mishnah. And he says, no, shali shalach shalach. That's also midas daim.
Yeah, but it says chosek tzas.
Why?
Look,
Gam shechosek tzas has a midas daim.
look, finish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gam shechosek tzas.
The Yesher hold that shali shali v'shalach shalach is midas daim. Why? Why is it midas daim? I have mine. You have yours. I'm not taking anything from you. Why is it midas daim? Because there are times when you can give up a little bit, and that guy will get a lot.
That's the name of the chosek?
And
That's the name of the chosek?
No, there's the name of the chosek.
In other words, shali basically being maneya. You're saying, I don't care anything, no matter what, I don't want to give you anything.
I'll give you an example.
I want to, in other words, I have 100%, listen. Simple
you like
put.
This example.
Huh?
You like the example.
I'm about to give an example myself.
Oh, this is,
Okay.
tell me if this is
Go for your example.
Years ago, I was Matzah
You
Shabbos
definitely have more
going to
geschmack than me in
Yad
the example.
Either going or on the way back to Yad Kala. By exit 98 by the light, my old car with the green car with the red door broke down on the
Anaya Moshe Chassidus, everybody. David Kidman's car.
right over there by the gas station. Thank God I was able to push into the gas station. Now I need a boost. So it's 2 o'clock in the morning. There's a yid there. I'll leave for yid. So I asked him, can you please give me a boost? Because this happened to me before. I just get started.
Break the alternator.
He looks at me, he says to me, my mechanic told me that when you give somebody a boost, it hurts your car. So really I shouldn't. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Really I shouldn't give you a boost. But Shem Psoim Hashem, I'm not anxious to give you a boost. And Shem Psoim Hashem.
What's your mashal?
Shem Psoim Hashem?
David.
Okay.
Yeah, but because he's doing a foolish thing and the Abraham guards him the boost.
I feel sometimes that you're really, seriously, that everything that happened in your life, you're looking Chassidus to find a way to explain your life.
Like Shmukla and frequencies.
Could very well be.
And it should be the other way around.
No, this is beautiful, by the way. There's too many things in my life I don't think that Chassidus is going to resolve. I was going to say simple motion, not a big
Karma.
I have look. Shali shalach in the extreme means you come to me for a favor. I need only 1 minute of your time. So it's chosek tzas. But I say shali shalach. That's midas daim from the Tanakam, from the Yeshem Mitzpatim. Tanakam says that's not midas daim.
Because I'm losing the minute.
Yeah,
Because I'm losing the minute.
I want to come learn about you.
No, the Tanakama would say. No, Tanakama would say midas daim. No,
I end up paying for it.
Tanakama. It's the Tanakama. No, the Tanakama would say.
Yeah. If there's a
midas
chos, it's not
daim.
stem. You're saying if there's a chos, it's not stem. Right? And you're saying Adrabah. If there's a chos, it is time. That's when it's time.
Let's go. Simon,
So
you're right.
where do you determine whether it's a Tanakama?
I don't know if it's a kamisdik thing. What ktsas means? Okay, that's a good question. But he introduces the concept that midas daim works also.
Because shali, when the driving rationale is shali b'shalach shalach, when that's the rationale behind it,
It can become.
that justifies it. That's midas daim. If the rationale why I'm not giving you, even I'm only giving you a little bit. Why am I? What's wrong if I'll give you a little bit?
Again, if the rest.
So what's the only excuse he has why he doesn't give you a little bit? Because shali b'shalach shalach. If that's the driving rationale, it's midas daim.
Well, chosher klal is a Tanakama. So if you came to me and I don't lose even a minute, and I don't want to give you, that's mamish midas daim. But if I lose something, it's midah beininus.
Yeah.
Basically, that's
the introduction of Chef Heinrich, basically.
yeah. That's the nekuda. Yeah. The dasak. Shel shalach shalach v'shalanu shalach. Yeah, they missed it.
You didn't introduce them. Yes.
Stumblers, it's all stumblers.
Can't tell. Hemshech Yove. Dafür sein im Bagel Shop. Wir kennen sein nirgends anders.
Vergesst nicht meine Chuttendaten.
Sicher zweimal. Sei gesund, Karel.
Gut Yontif. Van bisschen Gemara cup for some of this stuff too. It's just as a,
Brothers or their kids of the
Two are brothers and the little
they're
kids
the
are his
son.
sons.
They're the sons of the middle one. What's his name?
Zalman.
Zalman. I remember them as Bach.
But the kids
I
are two
remember
Reinichlach.
him and Janusz. Chaim Ber, the drei. You remember them?
Who's Chaim Ber?
Chaim Ber is the
which one
greatest.
is Oliver Shalom now?
Janusz, the Ulster. This is the Russian underworld. They Russia affected.
They make Moshe's genes look polluted.
They make Moshe look like straight out of Oklahoma.
I heard from Moshe Feller about the Midwest. I told you that what he said. The Rebbe said there was a Jew that wrote to the Moshe Feller told me this. Asked him how are things in the Midwest. He said the behemoths. Rasach behemoths. So he told me the Rebbe when someone once wrote to the Rebbe that they're afraid of terrorist attacks in New York.
I heard this.
So they're going to go to the Midwest. So the Rebbe said, bei Million Jeden wird nicht beistehen, which means that per million behemoths will beistehen. If a million Jews won't protect you, what do you think, a few million cows?
Then
So
Oklahoma,
Moshe
we
Fell
had,
said that Rebbe Keveg, the Midwest is cow territory. Okay.
but in Oklahoma there was a bombing. No?
That's right.
Okay, let's continue. Let's continue.
New York too, though.
And the key word is klal, chosek tzas, or the loy chosek klal. But it's barely shazel, but beis hamadreg is the eir v'shefa. This is the two levels of eir and shefa. The iyim b'chinas eir hu shazel ha'ara levad. Eir is just a reflection. B'chinas ayin, she'ein above b'chinas islapshus. Eir, like say eir hashemesh. When it shines down, whether it's on garbage, like Chassidus says, or it's on a beautiful place,
There's no
the
effect.
air is
Shem's
completely, number one, it's a ha'ara, it's only a reflection of the sun. Number two, it doesn't have any substance. So it's not nitfis and affected by what it shines on. That's light, energy, air. So
The Shefa is not affected by what it shines on. It's affected before it actually gets to the person it shines on.
What does that mean?
In other words, the or that we call Shefa.
We're not talking about shefa now. We're talking about.
The whole thing is.
Let's finish it.
But the Shefa is lost before it reaches.
But he's talking about air now. Air, like I just gave an example. Air Hashem. So, it doesn't dress up in the particular place or area or thing it's shining on. Therefore, nothing will affect it. It doesn't have any. So nothing is diminished. The sun shines, for example, doesn't make a difference. You put something that doesn't. The sun is not affected, and not sunlight is not changed. Not the sun. The sunlight is not changed or affected in any way. Not in the source and not in the light. It's not affected. In other words, air just shines. All his job. By the way, in the mamutza, air is represents the moed, represents the source. It shines. It doesn't have any that type of interaction, right? Mashenke b'chinas shefa. B'chinas shefa hu b'ha'er shu b'chinas mitzias. Shefa is an air that's in a mitzias, a different type of air.
No, shehuba is shehuba air, shehuba mitzias.
Yeah.
In the air, he's a mitzias already.
Mashenke b'chinas shefa hu b'ha'er shu b'chinas mitzias. The air is in dover. Mitzias dover. Hashpa ba b'chinas islapshus. So two things here. Number one, the air.
That is being
The air, two things. The air itself is only a reflection, and it's not a slapshus. Okay, because it's ayin. In other words, we're talking about the personality of that. What's the muhus of air? Muhus of air is number one. He said it's a ha'ara, only a reflection. It's ayin, and it's not a slapshus. Those 3 points. Shefa, on the other hand, in the air is a mitzias dover. It's not ayin. It's mitzias. That's the opposite, and it does come b'chinas slapshus. The perfect example is a teacher. It's also transmitting. That's not like sun. Makes a befedish difference to who he's transmitting, what kind of student, and it has an impact back on the oyer and on the moyer. So even though, let's say, this transmission from a teacher is also only a reflection, in that sense there's one common denominator between Eir and Shefa here.
Transmission?
That ha'ara. It's ha'ara from the source. But one is ha'ara. One is ayin and not bislapshus, and one is mitzias and yes bislapshus. But they're both, in other words, They're both a reflection of coming from this.
They're both oir. One is a
One
one
is
is a
straight,
makif.
one's without, one's changed a bit. One is modified, modulated.
He didn't say that word. That's not the word he used. He used the word mitzias and dislapsus. I would be careful not to use the word shinui yet. So begins mitzias, dover ashpor, bo begins dislapsus. Well, Cain, agam shem shom yod.
There is shinui.
Yeah, but I mean, you use the word that. It's,
The sheen is in the moyer. That's
The minute he has a mitzvah.
1 second. Because of that, Hamshach. So even though the Hamshach is ha'or levad, harizeh is a shinui ba'mashpia or ba'hashpa. Here you go. There he says eir and moyer, and now he says mashpia and hashpa. So hashpa is what. So mamish. It's like two parallels. You mamish can compare the two. They're both ha'or. One is mitzias and slapshus. One is ayin and not slapshus. And therefore, as a result, one has no shinui. Not in the oil, not in the moyer, and one has a shinui in the mashpia, and the hashpa, and in the mashpia. Pasuk kipshut in the
mushba, the
The oil, the mashpia, the mushba. What's the mitzias? What we're referring to?
Mitzias is the transmission, the oil itself. Let's say,
talking
okay,
about mashpia,
yeah,
mashpa.
the teacher is transmitting an idea, so there's a transmission.
That
It's
oil
equivalent
is
of
being
sunlight. Sun gives off light. A teacher gives off a, let's call it a transmission of ideas. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. They're both transmitting. One is ayin. The light itself doesn't have substance. It doesn't come to the mekalim. It's not mislabish in the keli. It shines everywhere equal. Mashpia, on the other hand, the teacher is thinking about the student. He has to fit it to the student. It affects him and it affects the way he speaks. So that's the equivalent. So if you think about it like two rays of two, it's two different ways of transmitting, basically.
You said before though that the air makif, this
Remember, is simply a term which means light is not really the right word. Energy. It's a flow of energy. Any type of energy is today in physics, for example, everything is rays. Everything is energy. It could be ultraviolet energy. It could be cellular energy. It's all energy. Even when you look at me, there's an energy going. What you see. What are you seeing when we look at each other? There's another airwaves. Stop with the jokes. No.
Today they refer to
radio
one of
waves,
them as,
TV.
As rays. No.
They don't use rays so much, but they use waves, airwaves. You know, like for example, example.
Anything that's causing something else.
It's energy, by the way, it's energy.
The sun gives off itself now. By the way, not just sunlight. There are things the sun gives off that are bislapshus. Also, you get a suntan.
Which is what I was trying to tell you last week, and nobody believed me.
No, there is, because for example,
Everything grows in the sun. People get held.
Well,
that's
no, we're talking about purely. If you're talking about just the light and the warmth of the sun.
What does the sun give off?
No, but Chassidus doesn't. The answer to that is we're talking about the general light. That it's daylight. No, 1 second. No, but daylight and warmth. That aspect of sun is air, not shefa. That's what Chassidus talks about. Chassidus doesn't talk about ultraviolet or infrared. And the other, there's energy. That there's actual electrical impulses. The sun has a.
Doctor.
Chassidus talks about Eir HaShemesh is talking beferish about those aspects of air that are not shefa.
By the way, doctor,
That it gives off
that light that you get a suntan is most probably because it went through the air. Otherwise, you will not get a suntan. So it's not. So it's a really change in the air. It's
The opposite. Ozone layer.
The violet rays is what gives you the sun. It kills away the melatonin that therefore allows you to shop.
There we go.
In
Melatonin,
space,
I think that's the
in
next
space,
baby.
which probably would not get a
I told you he's being mild kol avedose.
Cold there.
It would not get a suntan.
Cold.
There's no
The tan, I think, is a lack of something, not a.
Melatonin is a shtickle eres de teu, I think, that breaks through the
Air doesn't have to be slapshus.
some say it's midas name.
He said before the air makif.
Okay, so let's continue here.
But
Yeah.
let's say,
Hold on 1
Oh,
second.
I didn't hear.
thing here.
I did not hear. I'm sorry. Welcome.
Just because you react to air, it doesn't mean it's beslapshus, you know. You could have something that's so you didn't makif, and you could react to it also.
First of all, he didn't use the word reaction. The word is not reaction. The word is the type of transmission it is. They from the source. If you see, let's say, hold on.
It's right there.
There's two types of transmission of energy. I'm just using an example: sunlight, and the transmission of a teacher transmitting ideas through whatever speaks. We're not talking now about the makabel at all. It's not even relevant.
No, just because the person has a pan or reacts to the heat or whatever part.
Oh, that was a discussion. He doesn't say that here. I'm not saying a tan may not mean that it's a slapshus, but I'll tell you where it would be slapshus. If, for example, we know sun flares create electrical disturbances, So it's not, then there's a difference of how it's going to affect one place or another. For example, sunlight, the usual mashal is like this. Sunlight shines. It doesn't matter if it's garbage or if it's a palace. It'll shine on diamonds just like it'll shine on garbage.
That still holds true when you talk about electrical disturbances.
I don't know, that's arguable because you could...
The sun's doing its thing. It doesn't matter what happens. The earth leaves the mother in the exact same state.
Okay, fine. It's
the situation it encounters.
Maybe you're right. I'm not saying, I think from a physics point of view, there's definitely things from the sun that probably are more in the Shefa category. I don't know if it's completely like the transmission of a teacher, but there has to be something like that.
Anyway.
And they're receiving it.
Anyway, but it doesn't change the discussion. I understand. It's debatable. I mean, we really have to look into more of the laws of physics of how, sun rays or. And let's put it this way: is there an example? Let's say, forget about sun. We know there's all kinds of other energy flows: electromagnetism, gravity, the strong force, the weak force, nuclear forces. Are any of them together of Shefa? I'm sure some of them are Shefa more than they are. It also goes down to whether it's particles or waves. Waves for sure are more air, and particles are definitely more Shefa. Because a particle has substance in it.
But somehow they become the same thing. That's the whole question.
Okay, well that's back to the Mumutza, yeah.
That's quantum physics.
The doctor, everything is waves and particles, right? 770 was always a wave and a particle when they were pushing, you know what I mean? Particles were becoming waves. Let's put it this way. It's called washing machine. Okay. So we didn't need to have quantum mechanics. We just saw it in real life. When Orul Chassidim crush, are you a particle or you're a wave? You're part of it, one whole, or you're some Metzias? By Fabringen, the Rebbe once said, "Dafim kvetschen mehr. This guy needs more pushing, more."
Wow. What happened then?
It pushed. Yeah, the ego gets a little.
Plenty of volunteers.
Really?
Yeah. Not only volunteers. Yeah, the guys that they feel they were created just for that.
You're trying to tell me that there was a Metzias that somebody wasn't pushed in some 70s?
Only 1 year was like a Toshan Lamites. Rebbe was pushed also Simchas Torah many times.
I heard people that accidentally pushed them got hurt afterwards as a result.
This
is
don't play with fire.
The folklore is built on everything.
Oh, the talk. Yes, so he said somebody pushed him into the Rebbe or something. After that, he broke his leg. I mean, he said you can't just touch the Rebbe.
Well, okay, can we continue here?
Yeah.
Okay, here. Valkane.
Pushed.
This is all a summary. The oil is makif. And I explained that this air that we talked about, that is not mitzias and it's not beislapshus, is a level of air makif. She'ena bebechinas islapshus, because air makif does not come down in a mislapshus. And shefa bebechinas air pnimi sheba beislapshus v'tfisa. So the difference between the two is air makif and air pnimi. The air makif, it remains above and outside of the, and air pnimi is beislapshus, like the mashpia, the teacher. It's bislapshus and tfisa, and it manifests. It takes.
We said before, air makif is responsible for savas and chayas and illness. So
Right.
it's zestach that it does have a direct. I know mitzad the air, it doesn't do it on purpose. It's a shine double poil. It's meluvish and it's mishava and it's mechaya.
It would be similar like the sun with sunlight can create something. Also, sunlight makes things grow. It doesn't affect the fact that it affects something very
Doesn't mean
deeply.
it's
Doesn't
not-
mean it's coming.
Or
in
if you
that.
put a magnifying glass under the sun, and you're making a mocking into a Benimi sort of.
No, you can make the sun can create fire. In other words, the effect can be one that's very dramatic.
You're saying
That's
it can be
not
an
the-
effect without having the official cause.
Right.
of
Because the ikar is what it does back to the sun. When the sun has that effect, does it have any effect on the sun, on the mashpia? Like with a teacher, it always has an effect. There's no such thing as teaching a student does no effect on you. It's impossible. And the comparison is Ratzin and Seichel. Ratzin is Makif and Seichel is Pnimi. Ratzin b'kol mokim shehu hari b'chinas teikaf haratzin shein b'shinui klal. You want something, it doesn't make a difference whether you want to walk, you want to talk, you want to eat, you want to think, you want to do whatever. Ratzin is an all-encompassing type of energy flow. There's no shinui. V'aseichel, on the other hand, hu b'mitzias. Seichel is our er pnimi. Seichel is an intellectual idea. Mele, but it's a seichel mitzias kayach. Shabab b'chinas shinui, and beferish there is a shinui. You think of one idea, it could be one way, another way, and so
Is it
on.
the reason there's a shinui because it's something specific? That's why it has the ability to become a shinui. Mashenkin Ratzon is general.
It's not the word, I don't know the word specific in general. I would say more mitzias and not mitzias. Like, for example, when you want something, it could be the smallest thing. It could be just as powerful as wanting the biggest thing. Because will is just this type of amorphous state. It's like like the sunlight in a sense. Nevertheless, even though Pnimi is bislapshus and creates a shinui, and it has a mitzias, there's still a mila in Pnimi. So yes, on the other hand, on one hand, the sun and that type of light, makif, does not affect it, but also nothing is added to it. So it always remains stable. Right? Nothing comes back. Whereas by the mashpia, hashpah, it comes of eir ba mashpia, aydei kavonas. Remember the kavonas in the itzas haskola shebe hamakabel, because the Eibishter made it that way that the makabel should have something that he gives back to the mashpia. Remember we spoke no sefer b'tchilas and tchilas b'sefer. He wedged the beginning and the end, so the end, the makabel, has something that gives back to the haskola, to the mashpia. Commissioners Barleil da anochi Hashem zel ba er pnimi dafke, and that's the mila of er pnimi dafke. Continue.
Yeah.
Reish Mem Gimel. Inyan.
Just one second. Kavanas Nitzas Haskala, what does that mean exactly? The Kavanah means...
There's a few broken back, he explained,
from
the Siddur. Siddur, Mittler Rebbe Siddur spoke about.
Yeah. Oh, Rosh Hashanah Mem Zayin, Rebbe says.
Yeah, that's on
the Siddur, the Geshem. Shenichta by day, Admuran Zayin. So you were right.
I know. It's my ASIC. It's not a big Aveda. I did this for many years. I know what Marmokim is. And I told you Sefer Lekutim. I know where they put Siddur.
Why are you interrupting? Because we were explaining.
Anyway, so he said earlier, just you can go back and show you inside. He explained that why the Eibishter make not Sefer B'tchilas and the Sefer. Why shouldn't it be just orderly? The top, next, like, regular order of gradations from top to bottom. But he made something special. At the end, the beginning is wedged in the end, and the end is wedged in the beginning. Right. It's like a out of order thing. So the reason he says there is because the Eibishter wanted mashpia makabel. Without that, makabel and mashpia would be disconnected. This way, the mashpia, when he goes sof,
he gets something.
The Haskalah gets something. And then he explained that that's not for selfish reason alone. That's because the kavanah is that. That's what he's saying. That's only an Makif doesn't have that because it doesn't get anything.
The Nitzas is
Chachmas Tema, I don't know. Chachmas Tema is in Keser, so it's generally a Makif. But because it's Chachma, it's a Pnimi Sheba Makif. That's for sure. That's why that's the Mamutz, of course. The whole thing is here Mamutz. Everything is the Mamutz. Chachma Gluya is only Pnimi. Chachmas Tema is Tema, so it's definitely Makif. But it's Chachma. It's not Rotzen. Remember the whole thing.
Simon, the words Kavanas means what? Kavana means what?
Kavana Liena.
Itzas means to the Haskalah from what?
Kavana, why the Itzas Haskalah?
Haskalah by the Makabel?
No, that's Atchila. The Tchilas and Besofen.
So not the Tchila Sheba Makabel, the Tchila that's part of the Mashpia, let's say.
Shai the Hashpom says Verba Mashpia. Ayah the Kavanas the Itzas Hatchila Sheba
Makabel.
Yeah, because he put the Tchila into the Sof. Makabel is Sof. Replace the word Makabel with the word Sefer. Right. So the Itzas Hatchila Sheba Makabel.
Meaning
he wedged the Tchila into the Makabel. Yeah.
Not Sheba Makabel. Tchila Sheba Makabel means the Tchila of the Makabel being the Itz somewhere else.
Because the Makabel has other things besides the Tchila, that's why.
So you're saying that the Makabel possesses at the beginning also?
Makabel has something that Tchila doesn't have.
So he needs to get there.
Okay, fine.
Meaning to say that ultimately when the Mashpia and Makabel come together, it's not just because the Mashpia wants to be Mashpia or because the Makabel wants to be Makabel, rather because ultimately they gain one from another.
But that's not the Kavanah. The Kavanah is
not the Kavanah, but I'm saying ultimately, no? Because one gains from the other, you're saying. So that would be one connection why they connect together.
Bottom line is the Eibishter wanted it all be, that they should all be connected, so he made it in a way that there are incentives, essentially. Right. And that's built into the system, this whole process of give and take.
That's not the Kavanah, though. That's not why the Mashpia is Mashpia to the Makabel. It's a subconscious thing.
No, earlier you said that.
He said it's not bittul.
No, but some mashpia, he's a real mashpia, has that bittul. He feels that.
Paket, he has the bittul. It's not about gaining anything.
So there's
a kavanah. It's
not gaining.
Okay.
The plug they do gain.
No,
It depends.
Yeah,
It
the
depends.
point is not the game.
So let us shma, bala shma.
The point is not the game.
Obira inyan. Let's continue.
Yeah.
That's the game. Do the kavanah.
That's
There's a whole there's a pedic about that. He talks about right here.
We spoke
Pedic
about it.
Reish Lamed Tes talks exactly about that.
Bar mitzvah mimer. On the makabel for
the
the
game
ganze
of
Bol
doing the kavanah. That's the game.
No, the motive is the kavanah.
Mili HaKavanah is the game.
That's nice, but that's not what he says exactly.
The motive is the kavanah, I think.
It's true. What you're saying is true. But it could be, let's put it this way, I could see three different times. One does it completely for his own, because he teaches. Another does it completely for the bid, and one has a combination of both. The bottom line is that these are the reasons behind it. Why each of us have a motive to do it can be many reasons. I mean, the fact is there's no teacher teaching a student completely just for selfish purposes because he's going to gain from the student. It doesn't work that way. Selfish purposes you usually learn yourself or with a friend. Go to Talmud needs a gear, like he said. It's a real work. So there has to be something there that's more than just because I'm going to, it's not just an investment so I can gain back.
It's a challenge of the ego, whatever it is he's trying to
I mean,
There's a certain inner motivation that the person wants to give.
And also there's everyone knows, for example, there's a pleasure in there's something that you get back from it. So let's continue, yeah?
Okay.
Reish Mem Gimel.
Something happened.
No. I'm just putting everything in context. So it's all still explaining the Teyun of why Teyun doesn't want to give, even though it's not godless. Okay. Obir Inyan Yesh Lahavin, to explain this whole thing, Yesh Lahavin Inyan Er Makiva Prima B'Tchilas Hamshachos and Mina Atzmus. Oh, that's good stuff. So he's going back to the root now. This is going to be heavy, in other words. To understand, this is B'chlal, just a short footnote that's a Meredith, the Rebbe Rashab style. You don't see this in other Chassidus at all. He so dissects things, like he's pushed a methodology. I'll give you an example, I use this all the time. People come to you with a problem. So they tell you the symptoms of the problem. You really want to get to the root of the problem. So here he's saying, to understand Er Makiv Pnimi, what their personality is like, you have to know where they began from. To go back to the beginning. So someone comes to you with a problem, let's say a Shalom Bayis, there's always a beginning. It didn't just, what they tell you is what's happening, like they're not, it's like the night when they tell you when the car accident happened, but there was before the car accident. You were asleep, you're drunk, it doesn't just happen. Sometimes the tree runs into the car, but it's not that often.
Only in Florida.
She's going now, this is made of the so to understand Er Primi and Makif, we have to go to the Tchilas Hamshachosan, to where they began. We're going now, we're retracing the steps, David, into the root of it all. Rabbi Rashab is taking us on a journey up the river.
The dramatic effects that they had as children.
Dihini Yedua, the Er Makif, Yedua, that the Er Makif had a close sinyoni, Ein Elohoyer as a elements. Okay, so in its root, why is there an Er Makif? Instead of just talking about Er Makif, what's the purpose? Why did Hashem make it? So its sinyoni is not to be made of the elements. You remember, this goes back to, by the way, the beginning of the Shavuos Maimer. Remember the Er Legalis Latzmei? He's probably going to say similar. He said then, I'm just connecting it, that the kavanah is not to create elements or to be made in the elements. The kavanah is to create bittul in the elements. So the kavanah of Er Makiv is not to radiate, not to the elements. Its inyan is to give you a taste of what the etzem is like. So like you have the elokus itself. In other words, there can be two types of light coming. I'll give you an example. Let's say a melech comes into a city, or the Rebbe comes to a city. So you could have a person who's going to explain to you what the Rebbe wants, for you. But there's going to someone say, here, let me tell you what a Rebbe is like. His inyan is not to measure the elements. His inyan is to give you a reflection, a taste, versus elokus. That's why they're always sitting always around the Rebbe like that, because that was their inyan. Their inyan was not, they couldn't really be mislabish to Chassidim, but they just gave you a taste of what that Rebbe is.
So there's two inyanim.
Chol Dvorkin, they said, was the guy like that.
So there's two inyanim in
They're usually a little crazy, by the way, because they're not with the Dora doing it. They're more Chiddushim. Chol, what did I say? Chol Dvorkin, yeah. No, Zalman Shimon. No. Chol Dvorkin passed away Tovshin Tess.
Yes.
And a Shavuos time.
Yeah, I went. He has no kids.
No kids, and I could take it. My shver was his
I went.
Bach, like used to help him. He says, "Well, my shver used to say the mechila flegem stellen bankers. Bankers are.
Yeah.
They don't do it anymore.
They did it here in
I'm
America.
sure Shmuklin tried it once. Right?
Shmuel tried everything once. Every medical procedure. That's right. Look at him. He looks like a wreck.
Simon.
Shmuel, he's like he experiments on himself. He injects himself with everything right
Going
before.
on the internet.
Yeah. I went to his
So in order to understand,
They have to give kippers.
No, it's a real professor. The biggest guys, they knew they have to do it on themselves. That's how they got innovations.
Could I have in writing? Then I'm the biggest
so in order to
guy.
understand this, we're
I want it in
bringing
writing.
It's against the wall between the curtain. Like the.
Yeah, you know the story my Shver told me?
I heard the story. That's not going to.
We didn't. Schweigen minute.
I'll tell you something maybe the Gemaisa, wow. So he came, I mean, the guy was a wild guy. He was living in Israel. He's living in Israel, and he kept wanting to come to the Rebbe. He was like, this guy completely buttoned.
In the 40s.
Yeah. So the Rebbe said to him, no, without, so he used to come. The Rebbe said, come, I told you don't have permission to come. Friedrich Rebbe. Tonight you have to have permission from your wife. I mean, his wife didn't get along exactly, because the Leptons are in the Welt. But this, and that's what I'm saying. It's not like you don't want to bring about it necessarily. But okay. Then finally, Friedrich Rebbe said, "You want to come here tonight? Permission from your wife, and you have to have parnasa here." So he appears here. I think at Rosh Hashanah, maybe Tavshin Ches or something. And my shver was here already, and he was a bachet, and he went to the Friedrich Rebbe. And who? So he says, "Well, his wife he divorced, so that's over with." Doesn't And parnasa.
He's not there directly?
She's taking alimony.
So it's a parnasa. He says, Al Das Harav, Al Das Rabbeinu. That was his parnasa. The Rebbe would support him. I mean, the bottom line is the Friedrich Rebbe smiled and he ended up being here. He's one of these guys. The two songs, Michel's Losher is Nigan, not a Nigan, is his voice. The Rebbe gave tapes of.
Wow. So he was only here for 2 years?
No, maybe a few years, maybe more. Maybe it could be a little early. I'm not sure. That I may not know.
He was a young man when he passed away?
No, he wasn't young. So listen, so my shver used to help him out. He got older. Erev Shavuos Tavshin Tes. 2 days before Shavuos Tavshin Tes, he sent my shver to go to the Rebbe, Ramash, wants to go into the Friedrich Rebbe for Shavuos. He lived on Eastern Parkway near Albany. So the Friedrich Rebbe said, I'll translate in a minute. He said, Sebal Matan Teire, stuck in Nistas Man Groma, aber in what does it say? In Asman Groma. In kurzen, weil wir beide sein in einem und damals Schmuz. He said, now's not the time, there's no time Shavuos, Matan Teire, but soon we'll both be together and we'll talk then.
Wow.
So within 6 months was Yud Shvat. So he passed away the next day. Erev Shavuos. The Levaya was Erev Shavuos. He's placed where he is. He's mamish to the right of the aisle. He's there before. He was the first one before the Friedrich.
So they took.
Yeah.
This story is the day before?
The day before.
Go look at Sefer Maimon.
I'm about signing in.
Before he died.
Before he died. Yeah. Mamish was a. I swear was a man. I told the story.
The Rebbe was gevannumen mit the Kvura. Mamish the last minute.
Yeah.
That was Dr. Ness.
Yeah.
So that's what he said. The Rebbe said, "Bebald sein in einem und mit Schmuz." So man weiß das auch Sachen. Schmuz dort, das weiß man. Und when Yaakov Kotlarski passed away, Moshe's older brother, Montreal Bacher, so the Rebbe said in the Fabreinen, as hört jetzt Chassidus von Schwer.
He said it to his father. He said, "Was seid ihr so traurig?" Then to his father, "Why are you so sad?"
Hört jetzt Chassidus von Schwer.
Wow.
Okay. So there's things happening up there, right? Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. Because ain't much happening down here.
The shears looks out.
Oh, you're cute.
No, wait, we besucht a Pasashino, something big.
Yeah, 9 years.
Tavshin Ayin Beis, 100 years. Anyway. We said, okay. So anyway, the Kach Ola, but it's saying is Baruch, Azei et Eberster Faveltzach. That's what the God wanted. Legalis Ermina Atzmus. The Fi'efana Etzer. That's what Hashem wanted. He wanted to have something that reflects him. The Fi'efana Etzer. Loi Lifel Dover. Not to, for no other purpose. Not to achieve anything. Kim Rak Legalis Ermina Atzmus. Just to reflect Ermina Atzmus. Light from Atzmus. Pretty. This is much higher than Atzilus. This is Eir already, looking at Tzimtzum and so on. It evolves. Atzilus is a mini of it, but
Reflection.
yeah. But this is now Eir Ben Atzmus. I mean, you're talking about Eir Atzmus. Yossi, isn't this amazing?
I'm a little behind. I'm catching up.
Oh,
I'm catching up.
he's saying.
No, because I saw it before. He brings Rotzen and Seichel. He didn't bring before.
Okay, he brought it. Okay. But anyway, he's saying now, it's at the first line, to understand what they are, you have to go the root. So what's the root of Er Makiv?
Who started
The
this?
Eibishter will sein for no other reason but to Megala himself. All it is to be Megala Atzmus.
No purpose.
Well, there's probably going to be a purpose, but
I'm saying, we don't know.
But this Eir, the purpose is in the Eibishter, but the Eir is not to tell something, it's just to reveal. It's like a shliach that comes to let you know, Shadar and Eibishter of the Welt. Something like that. But Ditchever, once middle of a Tuesday, called the whole city together, everyone closed, they thought there's some gezerah. It's the Pashta of the Bime. There's a Rebbeinu Shalom in the Welt. And that was it, that was the punchline.
And then go home.
And everyone, you have to be reminded from
Probably
time
the
to
same day that he was dancing Shulei Sunday night.
Anyway, Ubavada yesh b'zeh kavana. Here you go.
Yeah.
For sure, there's a kavana. Ma'ay mashin is bar le'el pei kuf chafei. Liyash is a gili ritzeni. Since it's a gili ritzeni, Eibishter wants it. It didn't just come by itself. Gili ritzeni means a willing gili.
It's not a compelled one like the Shemesh is.
Right. Aval in hagili azeh ein elifel ez a davar. But this gili is not to peel anything, not to affect anything. Rak legalos el levad. That's the kavana. To just shine. And this aid is the klal nishken yiridim in atzmus. This is very fundamental pedic. You can mark it up with Daf Zayin. This aid is not b'chlala yiridim in atzmus. It's not lower. It's not a descent from atzmus.
What about?
Well, he's going to explain. The Hari Yedua, the Eir Shalifnei Atzimtzum Klos Eir B'chinas Eir HaKol B'atzmus. It's known. I'll explain in a minute. Let's just first read it. That all the Eir Lifnei Atzimtzum is B'chlal Kol B'atzmus, which is very important to know this because people talk about levels before the Tzimtzum as if it exists. It really doesn't exist. It's all within the source. Things that are going to happen later, but we know from later what is there because they because we have Eir that's Megala Atzmus is telling us. Think of it like this. Think of a shliach coming from the Rebbe's room telling you what's going on inside his room. So inside the room, there's nothing there. It's only the Rebbe's there. This is like so-called a reflection of what's happening in the higher spheres. Remember the opposite. If the Eibishter didn't do that, we would never have an understanding or connection, relationship, again back to the Mamutza with Atzmus. If there was no Eir,
Right?
this is what Chassidus says, if there was no Eir, there'd be no relationship with Atzmus on our terms. Everything
that
Kol
may
Yochel,
have
the
the
Eibishter can do
connection
anything he
with
wants. He can come to you, he can come to a 2-year-old and tell you, I'm Atzmus. But if you want to have it some way, in Seichel, some way that we can relate to it, Eir is the so-called interface.
And that was the Eir Lifnei Atzimtzum. That gave out
B'chlol is that's Eir, B'chol Eir Lifnei Atzimtzum, Eir HaKol
gave out the
B'atzmus.
stability that I should be able to push it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's why you have to really read the record. The im hayesha ba'er k'meish lifnei yesh begam kem b'chinas etzem v'yispashtus. Even though there's a big question, if that's the case, it's all er kol b'atzmusei, meaning there's no mitzvah, no yerida. So why do we say there's an union of etzem v'yispashtus? Etzem meaning the etzem ha'er, which is the essence of the er. Yispashtus means the
Etzem Eir or Atzmus?
no, he means etzem v'yispashtus and er. How could you say there's etzem v'yispashtus that there's an etzem er and there's yispashtus and an extension of the er? The Yispashtus ha'er b'chinas er ha'shayich la'elmus. The batzmusei gufu b'chinas er ha'meir el azulus. The answer is, we're not talking about something that really is Yispashtus. It's in atzmus gufa, there's an er that is meant to be meir el azulus, to shine to someone else. So you're not talking about, it's like an atzmus, the Rebbe brings example, for example, when an Eved Poshet, whatever the melech, whatever his odin is, the master tells him to do, bring food, learn. It's all equal to him. Doesn't matter. So in Atzmus, beside the Eved, he's completely bottled to what the master wants. It doesn't make a difference what it is. In Lifnei Atzimtzum, that's the Eir. So yes, there are different functions, but they're all within Kol Batzmusa.
So that's really the real mamutza, that or within Atzmus.
Yeah, there's many mamutzayim at different
That's
levels.
the ultimate mamutza.
Ultimately, yeah. Oyer is the ultimate Mamutzah for sure. But remember, he spoke. There's different. There's Mamutzayim about the details. That's Ak, Adam, Kadman. There's a lot. It depends what you're talking about. Mamutzah, there's a lot of interfaces necessary because our existence is multi-dimensional. But if you talk about the general Mamutzah between Atzmus itself, which is completely incomprehensible, and mortals like us, Oyer is the general interface. But within Oyer, there's going to be a lot
Seemed
of.
like before that Chachmas Tamor as
It's
an interface which was going way up to Atzmos. You know?
The Chachmas Tamor is a microcosm of what's higher, so it is.
Okay.
He'll tie it all together. We'll discuss it. Okay, Bal Yesh B'Zeh Kavana. We're not talking about that. Okay. Yishpash Oyer Hashem Omer Guf B'Chinzeh. U'Kamay Shekosov Mo'Kamacha B'Inyan Kadesh V'Kodesh. With a vav. Yeah. Kamay Shu B'Ein Sof Shalifnei Etzem. The Shnein Hein Ba'Oyer. Like the Kodesh.
Kodesh Mila B'Gameh.
ובכנס עצם העד, אין בכנס עד המאיר לעצמי. וקודש, when Sepashas er, the Batzmus בכנס עד המאיר על הזולס.
Kodesh
Like
means
he explains-
referring to something that is Kodesh.
That's above. In the
Kodesh.
Kodesh means holiness.
Oh, no.
Shacha.
Before the Vav after the Kuf, before the Dalet, not
So
Kodesh.
which one is Kodesh?
Kadesh is the higher. Kadesh is higher.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
rather-
I understand.
Kadesh
Radavon.
mila begameh, like you
I'm asking
said.
which one is Kodesh? Radavon.
You can put a Vav there too. You
No,
can
one
see-
is with the one with
but
Radavon.
in other places you're going to see Kodesh
It's
and
not
the Vav, you're
Shacha.
going to get confused.
It's not
It's either before the
Shacha.
Vav, before the Dalet or after the Dalet.
Yeah, Vav, I'm sure that's the way.
The difference is one is a noun,
Right. Okay, yeah.
one is a noun, and one is a verb or an adjective. One is a mitzias of kedusha. Okay, the mila begameh. It's what it is. It's on its own.
First one.
Yeah. Say something is.
Kodesh means it is
holiness.
holy. It's
If
a-
you
it's
say
before the-
holiness is Kodesh. Kodesh is holy, something that is holy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a Shem Elokim or whatever.
That's
So-
what it means Mila Begameh. It's a word that stands alone. It's not
No.
referring to something.
That's what I'm
that
saying.
is
It's a
holy.
noun. It's a state of being. It's not a. It's not a. It's not.
Not even a state of being. It is some. It is
Yeah,
phenomenon.
but for example, you say you're Makadish someone, you're ready.
that person becomes Kodesh
Right.
Kodesh.
Right.
because he now has the kedusha, the Kodesh.
But nevertheless, even though there's these two levels, but generally they're not yitzim in atzmus. I'm telling you, I'm using this example b'kavona. So here you go. The Rebbe used this example in the letter. They asked him to explain lifnei atzmus, lifnei atzimtzum. Sorry, where he talks about because the cheder nachem tzimtzum do madreg is fan tzimtzum do madreg. What's the difference? So he speaks about this, the evet chelik yud, the sofis. So basically, he speaks about evet that you're so bottled, it doesn't make a difference whether you're bringing food to the king or if he's cleaning a janitor. The only thing that matters is Ratzon HaMelech, Ratzon HaOdem. So Lifnei HaTzimtzum, all that matters is was Evil Atzmus, was Leibishter. He wants to be Meir Azulas, not Meir Azulas, Alzain Hazeh. I just saw it at Erev Yom Kippur Sicha, where the Rebbe Rashab, who came, it was a Chosid, came to the Rebbe Rashab, and he was like, as a besimche, getanzt, Erev Yom Kippur. So the Rebbe Rashab said, it's the Zeit, das ist great, und Fatshuva, umke de Liebe. So he says, the Rebbe is ein Soldaten. A soldat, wenn man sagt, er lachen, lacht wenn man sagt, weinen, weint The Rebbe Rashab had enough from that. The Frierdiker Rebbe brings it. In other words, you cry, you laugh, it's all, if you're beside the bittel, the difference, there's no difference. It's a soldat, whatever is told to do, that's what he does.
Yeah, but if you keep it,
Good, fine. No, but he was, no, so he was
He
saying,
switched.
Bees Mekum from side to this, in other words, not ready yet for the Achana. That's what it speaks about. It speaks to two things.
The Rebbe says the Meister.
Where did I just see it? Frierdiker Rebbe says it, and the Rebbe brings it. The Rebbe in the Shemis, it's in the Shemis. Yeah. The Rebbe's Rishimis, but the name of Frierdiker Rebbe. So in other words, there's a place where everything is equal. The Rebbe brings it to the gate to Altei Shekel b'mitzvah Seidim. Kalos kechamuris. So why is it Kalos and Chamuris? Because in the Rotzen, there's no difference. The Rotzen and Elyon doesn't have a difference whether it's a Digdu Kal, it's the smallest detail, or it's the biggest mitzvah. But Pearl is a difference outside of the Rotzen. Because this is a bigger mitzvah. This is a smaller mitzvah. But in Kavanah, in the root of it, the rotzen. That's why you say Asher Kedushan Mitzvah V'Tzivanu. That part is mitzvah, all mitzvahs are equal. Then there's Al Natil Shadayim or the Hadlik Nei Shabbos, whatever. So, in other words, there's the two things. The Asher Kedushan, it's an equal thing. So basically, it's really saying that Kol Ba'atzmus. You can find examples within us as well. Remember, we spoke about the pleasure of building a house. So the etzem pleasure of something you have, let's say pleasure from your children. That's a good example. But yeah, is there a difference when your child is eating or sleeping? The etzem time you have of your child, love for your child, no difference. Obviously, there's a part when your child excels in school or does something you have extra nachas. But the ava atzmis of a parent to a child makes no difference what the child is doing. I'm not talking about anything negative. What's the difference? The child is, you look at your child, if he's playing, he's playing. If he's learning, he's learning. If he's sleeping, he's sleeping. There's an ava atzmis, doesn't change. And you're ava. Of course there's differences, because you want your child here to go to school.
How is that there?
I'm saying, so inside the atzmis, like, so era kol batzmus is like the ava you have for your child. And that ava doesn't make a difference what the child is doing, practically speaking. But outside of the etzem, it does make a difference.
You're talking about the not the etzem itself.
Yeah. But I mean, what's kol batzmus?
As opposed to going on, I understand.
Yeah. It's just trying to find examples that there is. You see, we live on such a superficial level. By us, here's a glass. This. We don't think in terms of what the rotzna elyon in this glass is just like the rotzna elyon in this. We don't think like that because we don't go back to the source. We look at everything what we have, Basher Rosham, And the truth is, everything has a deeper mitzad. So there's an air that equalizes everything on earth. That's ultimately the root. That's air makif. The root of it is the air kol batzmusay. So all its inyan is to be megala elokus.
So this air you're talking about, this gili etzem, is an air that's called batzmusay or dasidas?
No, he says so. So there's two aspects of it. There's two aspects like air kol batzmusay. The Eibishter wants a lot of things. One thing he wants lahayra leilamis and lahayra lazulus. Another thing he wants is. But from his perspective, there was no difference.
Every rotzen has to have a kavanah?
It's a good question because you could say the Eibishter doesn't need a seichel. Kavanah means a reason, right? You don't just need a kavanah. Yeah, every rotzen has to have kavanah. No, one second. He says gili ritzeini. That's the reason. So he says there has to have a kavanah, right? Because since it's not behechrich, it didn't just happen.
Yeah, but could be rotzen the Eibishter on a kavanah.
No, but even the taiva is a kavanah. Taiva is stuck in kasha, but doesn't say it doesn't stuck in kavanah. The kavanah is the davasar. That's why I said to you, kavanah and seichel is not the same thing. Seichel, kavanah doesn't have to have seichel because seichel is a specific faculty. The Eibishter could want it because of taiva. The bottom line, what he says here, Al Gilad Tzeni, he's trying to say is that you can't say it's hecher, so there has to be a kavanah. But the kavanah is not. To do something, the kavanah is just to be megala himself. That's what he's saying here.
No, because before the yes was a kavanah.
Yes, was a kavanah. Avol ein ze lifel ez a davar. So how do you explain something that has a kavanah but it's not lifel ez a davar? Not just you understand.
Right.
So it's hard to find an example because let's take the example with a child. There, you're not the creator, so you don't. It's not that it's saying it's biological. You love your child no matter what. It's not like as if avelzach, But in atzmus, he wants it. So in other words, the Eibishter wanted to reveal himself to us, to something outside of himself.
And obviously, if he wants it, he must have a kavanah.
That's the kavanah. But it's not a kavanah.
No, that's not a kavanah. Because he wants it, there is a kavanah.
Yeah. He's only bavonni because it sounds like
he said the
kavanah
was that create bittul.
Yeah. Well, he didn't say it yet, but that's probably the reason. Yeah. Or here you could just say the kavanah is because he wants to be known. He wants to be the goli. But one second, here he says, "Kach ola b'ritzein legalis eir min atzmus lei lifel dover rak legalis eir mas." He wanted a bavod. He said lei lifel dover, so someone could think, okay, that was stuck in kavanah. So Stam says no, that's a kavanah, but it's not lifel dover. It's to be megal. That's really how.
Obviously, it's ritzoini. Why does it have to be ritzoini? Because
ritzoini means because God is not bound by anything. In other words, he doesn't have to do it. There's the lashon, like kodma heder, that even Eir, Yale would always give the example.
No, but you're a little bit limiting God. You're saying that he has to have a kavanah.
He didn't say that. He's saying that he doesn't need anything. Let's go the other way around. God needs nothing. He does something that's always with a reason. Reason meaning kavanah. That's the pshat, not vaket, that he must have a kavanah. If he didn't want, let's put it this, if there was no kavanah, he wouldn't do it. There wouldn't be such air. That's all.
Can't you just say it's for tiny, rather than tiny with like a circle?
He doesn't use those aces here. I mean, it could be connected to that. I think here you're talking higher than Ratzon and Tiny. You're talking really air, mamish. I mean, look, you're talking about the process, how Atzmus wills something. It's another story. You know, the Rebbe in that same letter ends the letter with a question. He says, but what in Atzmus is there to be able to make another thing? There's no two things. That's the question, he said.
Or who are you being Megala to?
Well, that's he's going to create a tzimtzum and he's going to create a.
He said Gili Etzem is for himself.
Remember, all this is not happening in time. This happens now also. There's a level like this right now. Huh?
What is that such a chiddush? I mean, that's an obvious question.
A what?
You know, there's nothing. It's only oneness at that point. Then you know, what's this question? What's the big chiddush? Everybody's wondering about that.
No, but what's the hasbara? How do you explain it? Yeah. So ultimately, the explanation is because Atzmus has the ability to do anything. So he has the ability to also.
I know that, yeah, but what
Doctor, you're going to struggle 80, 90, 100, 120 years.
180.
100 times, whatever. Then you're going to come up there and they're going to answer. You know why? Because it's Kol Yachol finished.
No, I'm questioning the question.
Yeah.
So when I asked this question, when I first came to realize this idea, I asked the question to Yale, and he said to me, very interesting answer, and he's absolutely 100% right. He said, Kol Yachol, Vadivas am Gelen Chassidus, and Kol Yachol is nicht Gelen Chassidus. It's not the same Kol Yachol.
Good.
So it is the same. No.
You're being nice to him.
No, because in philosophy they say, no, Yossi, because
it's not a cop out. Kol Yachol.
Right. Yeah. No, because I'll tell you why. It's like saying someone says, I don't know. So if a 2-year-old says, I don't know, and a 90-year-old says, I don't know, this is all I don't know. Or somebody that wants.
Kid bugs you.
No, because this is not knowing Heder Yedi Mitzad Heder HaSeichel, and that's the Heder Yedi that comes after Seichel. It's a big difference.
No, you don't know.
You can see it right away. Label Posner told me that the Rebbe told him to learn. He wanted to know what to learn with someone before the Nisiyas, to learn in Tanya. The Rebbe says to learn Tanya. So then the guy says to Label Posner, I don't understand this whole thing. He says, go to the Ramash. So he went to the Rebbe. Before he was Rebbe, he said, the Rebbe asked him, how's the Tanya going? He doesn't understand anything. So the Rebbe said, good, that's a great progress. You know, at least you know that. And secondly, the Rebbe said, Nish verstehen, zame alle gleich. Verstehen, da bis lachilik. In not understanding, we're all equal. Now, what does that mean?
That's a contradiction to what you were saying a minute ago.
No, it's not a contradiction. No, it's not a contradiction. You know, everybody doesn't know. The question is what they don't know. The Rebbe used to always bring, but the guy in Russian, the guy that brought this poyer, this like peasant guy, Erev Pesach, brought his child. His child was a bchor, a little baby, to hear the siyum. And there were some big verstehers there. So one of them said, what do you bring him? He understands. So the poyer says, in Russian, he says, and you understand. You know, in this verstehen.
And who does understand?
Yeah.
The Rebbe said the most.
Yeah.
Volkny, not the high school. The Rebbe told 1 time, no, 2 times, no, 3 times, whatever. So the Rebbe came out with ich verstehe nicht die Sache.
The Rebbe said?
I don't know.
So let's continue. Where are we going here? Can't get these big walls in. Been going out from now to Simchus.
Yeah.
So I'm a learn Ayin Beis. You dance Simchus Teda differently.
Yeah.
Even when the Sif Teda is closed. Come on, let's not kid ourselves. This is selbe Zach. You know what you're dancing for. I remember the Fabrengen before Kofus was the deepest. At Teresa and the Rebbe's night was unbelievable. You couldn't hear a thing. It was like so ironic.
There was nobody there though, but it was
No, the second one.
No.
The first one.
Before Kofus. Yeah.
Right,
And as it got later, he pushed it was a chicken market. The women upstairs didn't know there was a Fabrengen. They thought her Kofus, because the people in the back, they don't know who this is. How do they know? They couldn't even hear and they're standing. The guys, half of them were drunk, coming in from the. You remember? The Rebbe even had to tell the story about Shah Stil the Melech Shloft. You know that one? Yeah, the year that Rebbe turned over the cup, Memvov. So it was so noisy. I'm telling you, because I had to write it later, so I had to stand as far as you from me. That's how I stood. Mamish, I moved all the way to the front. Yale would say, and he started making, with his hands. Goodness. And it was like you missed a line, you can miss the whole punchline. It was not easy stuff. The deepest stuff, the deepest chassidus.
Which Fabrengen was that?
4 hakafas.
Brings that in what's going on?
Oh, the deepest Fabrengens. I'm telling you, it was very. And the noch chazarim is laughing hakafas, and all night, 4 o'clock in the morning, we did chazara. First minute, Yale said, It was a bad scene. But it was so the Rebbe finished with the cup. The place was, I'm telling you, couldn't, like Hirschelnot comes at 7:70 every Shabbos, and it's quiet. He says, wie far Gimel Tammuz? Es ist nicht genitzki, darf reden. Hirschelnot. Und darf reden, mitten verbringen, mitten, He wants it to be like it was. So the Rebbe, this was so noisy, and the Rebbe said, people were saying, Shah, 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 The Rebbe was speaking, no one heard him. He told this story, I would say maybe 5 people heard it straight from the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, there was a king, and he went to sleep. So he had a secretary. Anyone came around, he would say, the king is sleeping. Shh, shh. So a bigger king had 10 secretaries. So they were saying, Shah, Shtil, okay. But then the biggest king, he had hundreds of them. So everyone was saying, Shah, Shtil, the Melech Shlof. The Rebbe said that. And by saying it, they woke him up. The Shah, Shtil. That was the Rebbe's reaction to the noise. So you could imagine it was noisy. And even that you couldn't hear. Some people saying Shasht. But there was a Fabrengen, wow. And then when you danced that off, it was good anders. That was for sure. It was a very interesting paradox, because Simchas Torah is supposed to be Fabrengen. We're just drinking cannot. But to sit in the Rebbe's Haskalas, like really deep stuff, I'm telling you. But Atzmus and Eid, you could see the Sichas.
You went off to the side in jail and you...
No, we couldn't go. There was our coffee. You don't want to miss it. 4 a.m. and our coffee ended. We'd go upstairs on the steps, 4 of us, and he would just. Sometimes when he heard it, it was great, but it was so noisy. He's got hearing problems as it is, and that was the hardest Fabrengen to write, because also you didn't start writing. It was still Yontif. The next day is another Fabrengen. And this Kvias. Just to tell you how hard it was. Thursday night would be a Fabrengen.
This was Shmini Atzeres.
4 o'clock, yeah. And not Shmini Atzeres. Leil Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeres at night. So this would have been like this year Thursday night, a Fabrengen. A coffee started, let's say 1 o'clock. Okay. Then the next day was Friday. There was a Fabrengen before the Shkia for around an hour and a half, 2 hours. Another Fabrengen Shabbos Bereshis, 1:30. Another Fabrengen Shabbos around 5 o'clock before the 6 o'clock before washing. That was the Hemshech. So you had 4 Fabrengens. Trust me, sometimes we didn't know when the Rebbe said what, because it became so. The Rebbe.
There was a sucker between the 3rd and 4th Fabrengen like that.
There was a sucker for an hour. It was murder from a working perspective. Then you have only a week, because next week is another Fabrengen. A week to write 4 Fabrengen first. I'm talking about serious, good 20 hours of memory. That was the hardest. And also, very few people heard it well, because Simchas Torah. Mashke doesn't help. It's dancing. It's all counter-conducive to Chazara. And it's the hard ones. Those are very hard ones. I remember one year the Rebbe spoke 7 levels in Simcha.
Why did it have to?
We couldn't figure it out. No one heard it really. I heard it not well enough. And he never wanted to ask the Rebbe. We didn't hear something. It was just get past. So you try to create something and then write, is it clear? So I did that. I wrote the 7 levels of Simcha, because it wasn't clear. Yale didn't hear it at all. And it was a very difficult Sikha. So we wrote to the Rebbe. The Rebbe wrote up. It was beautiful. He wrote it out. Arichas Gdela. He liked it. Yeah.
Which year was that? So
Maybe Zion, Tavshemem Zion. Middleman.
Not as well.
Those Fabrengens were very. You remember those Fabrengens, right?
Yeah, listen.
Very hard to hear.
Unless
you're
very.
Why were taken Fabrengens? I'm saying these Fabrengens.
Why did it have to be 2 Fabrengens on Shabbat? Why couldn't it be 1 Fabrengen? What was the idea?
Shabbos Bereshis is ein inyan.
No, but even Rosh Hashanah, when it was Shabbos,
Yeah, because
Shabbos Shuvah,
because Shabbos Shuvah is muss man verbringen zum Shabbos Shuvah.
and you can't mission,
Nee, man can't
So interesting. Not verbringen, just to continue.
And tell me why the Rebbe had to verbringen a sukkah when it was raining and pouring and crazy? Azeidas.
Couldn't be one verbringen, had to be one for Shabbos Shuvah.
Das ist so da der Brief von Friedrich Rebbe. Azei und nicht anders. Das ist das. If it's Kedusha, it's good. If it's Shtusim, it's not good. But in Kedusha, it's alright. Oh no, I don't regret. I was beyond. I used to bang my head in the wall sometimes. It was so hard. Besides remembering, writing it down. You have to write the whole thing down forever. It's not just remembering a word of that. You have to write the whole structure of a Fabrengen. It was murder. It was very, very, very hard. Those names came later. We wrote Hanochis. I wrote the full Fabrengens in Yiddish.
Sichas Kedesh is the exact Fabrengen the way it is. All the Chazim looked it over together. How did it work?
Yeah, Sichas Kedesh is the Yiddish Sichas. I started working in 1979. I started Chanukah Tov Shemem, to be precise, when I became like the official writer. David Feldman went then to Israel. He was writing before that, and he got married. He went to Israel a lot.
David Feldman,
Yeah.
Came back there.
he was picked out one of the.
No. He went there a lot. He worked there with Glitzenstein. Yeah,
Good.
this is Adarum, no? The Mitzvah Tanzen. It's great. This is the Chassidus.
How many guys were with you?
Very small group. Depends. I mean, there was Chazara was one thing, writing was another. Two different skills. So Chazara, there used to be 30 guys there, but the guys that really did it, 3-4 that were really good. Depends on different stages, different bacher.
Zabel Shapiro was with you?
Before my time. Zabel Shapiro was he was there.
The 70s.
Yossi Hecht was an excellent chazer. He was before me a little before, but he was very good. I mean, there were guys that could hear a Fabrengen in 4 hours and repeat it in 4 hours. I'm not a Guzman, and the whole thing. I mean, not word for word, but well enough. That was very rare. Not everyone could do that. There were guys that understood it. If you said it, they remembered this, but to repeat it was one art. And then there was the art of writing. Some guys who remembered didn't know how to write to save their lives. Some guys that knew how to write didn't remember. There was a bunch of skills necessary.
You need to take one.
It was amazing. It was an unbelievable experience.
Everybody sat together to write it, or
No. By Chazara, with Chazara, one person with Chazara, others would fill in, we'd argue about it, and someone would take notes. I would take sometimes notes. He wrote everything down. Chazara. But that was just Nekudas, that's just, yeah. That was just pure Nekudas. Then started research. The real thing was after you really looked into the matter. Like if the Rebbe would say this thing in here, you had to look inside, then you suddenly realize, that's what he's talking about. 90% of Fabrengen, it was things that say somewhere the Teichen, and the Rebbe is adding to it. It didn't just come in Mechadish. You looked in Teireh of that Parshi, suddenly say, that's what the Rebbe meant. That was that's when you really started seeing what. Hearing of Fabrengen, I can tell you right now, I speak for myself, and I was in it. I understood maybe 10%, really. But, but later when you start looking at the Mefarshim and everything, then you really start getting the profundity of it.
During
Okay.
the Kvias of 3 days, what percent do you think you guys actually captured?
Well, I could tell it to you in mathematical terms. When the Rebbe spoke on tape, which we have recorded, the pace he spoke was every hour yielded 20 pages, 8.5 by 11 double spaced. So we knew that. So if Fabrengen, let's say the Rebbe spoke for an hour, if you had 20 pages without repetition, you knew you're doing well. We were pretty good, I could tell you that. But Derech Klal for Shabbos Fabrengen, if it was, let's say,
3 days.
98%, 97%, it was pretty good. But 97 and 99 it could be a difference. Because there's the general gist of the ideas. That was relatively, the ones that knew how to do it could do that. The problem was if there was a whole piece sometimes in the middle that was complicated and you missed it, you didn't get the...
That's why it says chassid.
I can tell you sometimes, chas is not that reason. Chas is because it's sharp words usually. Chas is not because we... Chas is very deliberate. I have all the chasses, I wrote them all. Just didn't put them
We
in.
need a couple copies of the classes. That's what we need.
They're geschmack chassidus. Yeah, there's some. If he ever spoke sharp about himself or other things that were not appropriate, we would take out. Chassid was never because we forgot. We
We
forgot.
see in the mimer sometimes.
And also, when we really had a,
You see in the mimer though, Simon. You see in the mimer chassid sometimes.
sometimes the end, chassid asiyum, because the brachas were hard to remember, so they knew there was an end. They didn't. It was something. I mean, page-wise, let's say if I bring the Simchas Torah, some big ones, let's say, would have been 80 pages if it was on tape. We would have 75 out of 80 pages, maybe more even. Pretty good. Remember, if also experience taught you, once you started rebuilding it, you suddenly start seeing there's something missing. Someone said, "Oi," things came to us later. I remember looking up in Yonim and Sfarim, and I said, "That's what the Rebbe mentioned. He mentioned that pasuk, and we didn't even say it by Chazara." So you could do a lot of detective work once you had the main gist of it. I can tell you right now, the thing that's completely counterintuitive. The better I understood the Fabrein, the worse I remembered it.
Yeah,
It was better not to understand.
So Yale, the same thing. Yale would have a conversation with someone right after Fabrein, like about this and about nothing. Specifically, didn't focus on the
Because it was absorbing the ideas, it
Yeah.
wasn't understanding them. If you understood them, you understood them how you understand.
right.
That's why so often right here when we learn, I always say, let's see what the Rebbe says. Because you start bringing your own thing, you start distorting the thing. You got to see what he says. And that was for sure. I remember times when I felt overconfident. Oh, this was an easy sikha. I said, don't do that. Big trouble if you do that. Because it's like, oh, that one I don't have to really work on. That's the worst. Overconfidence. Because it was something. It was something else. Huh? It was hard, but I wouldn't be who I am today. This was it was.
You're somebody.
It's okay. You know what I mean. Whoever I am is because of that.
That's what you guys did. That's all you did.
I would, by the way, it's Yigiyas HaMeich Shein Kamei. You talk about Yigiyah. I'm not only you can have the brilliant mind. If you didn't struggle with this, it didn't work. 'Cause I can tell you guys that had very good minds, like the lazy mind. It was Yigiyah more than the skill is necessary because some people have skill, some don't. But it was the working hard on it that was the hardest part. And that's when you really saw you're able to really develop it. Tell you, try it out. You hear something from someone.
You can do it at this class.
You hear someone something and you don't take notes or anything. Try and it was very geschmack. Try to repeat it to someone, and it's almost
I
impossible.
can repeat 10% of this year.
Try it out. Why? Because we delude ourselves.
How
When I speak and I make
Yeah.
sense, you think you're understanding it. You're understanding that I understand it.
Yours is the way you understand it.
Yeah, you're not understanding it until you make it yours. So
Right.
learn-
Until you
learn-
take it into print,
It's
sure.
like, let's say you learn this page here.
Yeah.
And then I would do is learn the page, then close it, and write down what you just learned.
You only know little.
You'll only
points
have
out
a
in
line or
that.
two, maybe.
Yeah.
If you learn it again, a little more.
Sure.
This takes real work. It takes you have to have patience and so on.
1000%.
But then you'll master it, and you'll see. You'll be able to write down the whole thing. But it'll take you time. It's not going to happen in a second, because these are his words now. They're not yours. You don't have the ability yet. I do this all the time. When I wrote on some of you know how many times I would have to look at it again and again. Then I started writing for myself notes.
Oh, I saw by your father's thing, I met a guy, clean shaven guy, talking to him. He says, "You guys learn Ayin Beis?" I'm like, 1 second. Then he tells me, "Oh yeah, I learned Samach Vav Simon." Peter or something.
I mean, Fred
Where'd you
Lindell.
meet the guy?
No, another guy.
You brought him on Sunday, no?
No, he was never here. Someone, I don't know his name. Yuda introduced me to him, a friend of Yuda or something.
Philip Lammerworth.
Phil Namor. Yeah.
Where were you?
I learned Samach Vav Simon. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
We should have a conversation with him. Ed Kennedy.
Yeah, I saw. He knows what he's talking about. I'm like, whoa.
That's the kavanah, no?
100%. Oh, this is the funny one. Oh, yeah, how many guys were you by this year? Oh, it was mainly women.
Really? Wow.
The truth is, I was teaching it in my office to the staff.
No? How many
I felt that nicht genug mit auf Arbeit mit auf echt lernen Chassidus to know what we're talking about. It didn't last. I mean, I did it for like maybe half a year.
He told me himself teaches Chassidus.
Yeah, he's good. He knows the stuff. See, he's a real Talmidei Yeshiva because you have to explain it to people like that. You can't take anything for granted.
Good.
You know, someone said, "What's the Eira Kol Batz Musay?" You know, explain what this means. Else it's just,
Terms, right.
Yeah. So let's continue, yeah?
Let me ask you, when you guys wrote it down, the reason why
This is
you
more
were able-
geschmack than Ayin Beis, right? The Chazar.
the reason why you were able
It's like
to
what Double Green says, I'll never be a paratrooper, but I like to hang around them. You know that one?
one of the things were the fact that you had a lot of Makaitis already, so you brought it in.
There's no question knowing before, like, when you knew the stuff, I would look at usually the Mamorim of the week before Fabrengen. The more you knew your Chassidus and Nigla, I remember when the Rebbe spoke a Gemara, I had no idea what he's talking about. Some obscure Gemara in Yavamis. Really? Afterwards, Yael also didn't know.
You had to go from the Gemara, you had to go.
And then when I started learning the Gemara, I said, wow, unbelievable. The Rebbe didn't refer to the Gemara, that was the thing. If he referred to it, it's one thing. He's talking an Inyan, and it looked like an Inyan about, I know what it was. It was Pasha Vayikra. Yovi Teherim, V'yasik B'Teherim. Why you learn the children start from Vayikra. So the Rebbe spoke a whole thing with Karbonas, Teherim, Al Ganza Maisa. I remember Chazara, we're talking, the El says, Chedushim. So if someone says a Gemara in Yavamis. The main, not the Rebbe added things, but the Sugya, and no, because there were things. There's the Bavusta one, but once in a while the Rebbe would pop one that no one knew. You could be a bunch of. You could sound like a Boki B'Shas if you know all the sichos.
Not like say you learned everything over the years.
What I'm asking is, if you hear something from someone that doesn't have any makom, it would be very, very hard to put down afterwards, right?
Yeah.
You need something, a base.
Yeah, but if you heard the general stuff of the Rebbe and then you looked in the base, it would help.
With triggers. You know how to trigger.
You ever learn Shulchan Aruch with the Alter Rebbe?
Yeah.
You ever learn it with the Makaitis? Sitting and learning how he takes it changes the whole thing, right? In Yeshiva we did that.
They put together the Dvar Malchus.
It's a whole different story. When you learn at Rambam and you learn in Gemara, you see the Shalei Be'erach.
The Dvar Malchus, the original Dvar Malchus, the real Dvar Malchus, they made them with the Aris and then with the Bekeris from all the Aris. Beautiful. Right. You learn the Sikh at a whole different level. You see the Gemara, you see the Medrash, you see the this, you see that. Yeah. You ever saw? Beautiful.
And I'll just tell you a story. I don't know if we're going to continue or not continue. Okay, let me just tell you one final story. That's made a different story. When the Rebbe first started being Magiya Sichos, in the beginning, the Rebbe wanted to edit everything. The Rebbe even started writing to Maimorim. And all the Rabbeim wrote the Maimorim, the Rebbe did not. But then there was no time. I guess the Rebbe's koyach was bedibur more, whatever.
I think the Rebbe said, I think he said, because nobody took upon themselves to do certain things. He's busy with this.
So anyway, they always they always try to push the Rebbe to edit stuff. But as time passed, he didn't edit. It was Magiya a few in the beginning, and then stopped. So they found a good reason. The Rebbe said in Toshin Tezvav, he said the Bochum should go every Shabbos to shuls to Chazuk Siddur. Oh, so this was the excuse. You're going to write, take a sikh from last year, send it to the Rebbe to edit. This became the Kuti Sichos Chelik Aleph and Chelik Beis. It was called Chazar al-Dach. People still have the. But the Rebbe's answer was unbelievable. When they came to him, they said that since the Rebbe is saying Bochum should go, so they're going to give the Bochum a Sikha. The Rebbe would edit it every week for the Bochum to Chazar. The Rebbe said, "Vos." This is what I heard clearly. The Rebbe said, "Vos." Tell the Teira Elokut the Teira. Every week on every pash, take a piece and Chazar. Vos. So they wrote to the Rebbe back. I heard this from David Raskin because he was involved. Yale was behind the scenes.
Tzach started it. Yeah.
Right. So they came back to the Rebbe. They said, but they want to say something from the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said, "Alter Rebbe, wie vergleicht man Bachlal?" They said all the wrong things basically. And the Rebbe would not. They said,
how do you compare?
Comparing. They want something from the Rebbe. No, they don't want from the Kut Teira. They want from the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said, how do you compare?
Which way did he mean it?
No, come on, but he wasn't ready to edit it, let's put it this way. And then finally they came with the right, they said they want, Teira Elokut Teira is hard to understand. But the Rebbe's Biyurim, you could understand it. And then the Rebbe started editing. It wasn't a game. It was like, you have to understand what the Rebbe saw, Sichos. He wasn't coming to Anuch Siddur, he was taking Teira Elokut Teira and explaining it. That was, so it was like,
That's not good to see.
Kash. The Rebbe told the Rebbe Gronim that without the Rebbe Rashab Chassidus, you can't understand Chassidus. And told to me many years ago. So he asked the Rebbe, what about the Rebbe's Maimorim? So he says, that's for his Kashus. But for Verstehen Chassidus, don't learn the Rebbe Rashab.
Wow.
Because people understand. They think learning the Rebbe's Maimorim is enough. I'm not saying it's great, but you can't. It's the end process. It's like learning a
The mice of after Kol Avaydasi. That's the mice.
Yeah. And when a lot of those Maimorim that were written by someone who knew all these Maimorim, and then
Isn't that?
What's also very unbelievable, Ayin Beis was published, 1977. All the years we didn't have it except for the first 10 Maimorim. The Rebbe, the first years, has his Maimorim from it because he had the manuscripts. And when you look now, the Ayin Beis and the Rebbe's Maimorim, you can't believe how close they are, like word for word almost. Which means,
by the way, which year?
The Rebbe,
which year?
Yud Aleph Yud Beis.
Yud Aleph Yud Beis?
Gimel, those first 3 years. There's Tezvav even. Pesach. There's Simamish. My mom that no one even knew was Ayin Beis. The Rebbe didn't say it was Ayin Beis. That means the Rebbe Chazed Kamat Ozbos, and that means the Chazara was because it was 3 clear. I'll show you a few. You won't go in your mind. Lines that sound like exactly and no one saw it. It wasn't like the Chazim saw it. It means the Rebbe Chazed it so closely, and the Chazim Chazed what the Rebbe said so closely.
Then they didn't
know because the Rebbe wouldn't say it.
They didn't have an Ayin Beis. Shabbos to bring us?
Yeah, Shabbos, Yom Tov. I'll show you a few.
There was Meisif anything?
Yeah, there was a Safalech in this, but it was very close.
I thought the first years was more like the 50 guys and then you go to the next days.
Well, people have time to sign Rabbi El because when we started making Maimorim for Agah, he started taking out the things that were printed already and just wrote so-called the Rebbe's Esophagus. And it doesn't flow like, you see some of those Maimorim, they're much more encyclopedic type. I mean, they're Muge, so they're emes and all that, but the style is very much like almost like Hagos, like you could see he's only adding the Chidushim.
But what, the Rebbe,
A lot, I wouldn't say a lot. It depends. Listen, but in most cases, the edits were really mostly because of our weaknesses, not because of the Rebbe's strengths. So most of the time,
sometimes even when you have a tape of the Maimer, and then.
No, the Rebbe from time to time would add something, but it wasn't that common, and it all depended on how it was written. If it was not written well, the Rebbe would edit a lot for language more. So a lot of big Hagahs are not necessarily content. It's because it was not written well. When we started writing better, the Hagahs became more content. The Rebbe once wrote to me. The first year I started writing, we made a big mistake, which we learned from. I was a sikh about children, Tzivus Hashem sikh. So I prepared it, and I worked all night. So I went home. I was a bochum, Mem Aleph. I told the guy who was editing, proofreading, and I said, listen, proofread it, put in the corrections, and take it downstairs. I wasn't going to wait around. It was already late. Anyway, I called up like 11 o'clock at night. He said, yeah, I gave it. It's by the Rebbe read. So I said, you proofread it? No, I forgot. Which means a whole typed page is full of mistakes. I was like Eismensch, because I knew this is not going to be good. The next morning, the Sikha comes out to the Rebbe. It's all edited, but then on top there's a note. It writes like this: Hineni Magdish, I dedicate a certain amount of hours to edit these Sikhs. And there's 2 options here. One is that I will correct all your mistakes. I'll be the Magi of all your tikkunei tais. Or you fix your own mistakes, and then I could add more emek and haris and agaras, etc. And then the last line was the main. And the choice is yours. In your hands.
True law.
The truth is, it was an honest mistake. I mean, it was not my direct, but I was responsible. The Rebbe was not sure. He was right. I mean, I'm not saying he's my askama, but I'm saying it was a common sense. It was it never happened again. Trust me. But I learned from that it wasn't just this. It was how much. Like it says, Heirah to all of us. You fill up the cup like this, so the Rebbe will fill a little more. You fill it to the top, it will spill over. It's all what you bring to the table. All shlichus is that way. Everyone knows that. The Rebbe said it with first Rabbi Yud Shvat. He said, "Retzach nishtaim feglich in buzim," which means don't deceive yourself and to think I'm going to do your job. You have to do aved v'keich atzmei. Right? This is the reigning rule. I saw it hundreds of times. those that worked hard, and so the Rebbe added, it was unbelievable.
Delegate so
You come
much.
to the Rebbe, and my father once, the Rebbe would ask my father from time to time, why don't you make an interview of me? 2 or 3 times he said that to my father. It's Eisrat. My father would always ask the same thing, can I ask anything? The Rebbe stuck in Sunzuria, always the Rebbe answered the same thing. Stuck in Sunzuria.
No censorship.
No censorship, you could ask anything. My father would ask, these heavy questions. One of the questions, there's the one about Yifun K, you know that one? Well, so once my father said, mention Freg, Chsidin Freg, he would never say, I'm asking, he said, Freg. Why the Rebbe, he asked the Rebbe, this was a good one. He said to the Rebbe, what bothers the Rebbe more than anything else? He asked him, er ist doch mein Tate, he fragt, a journalist, the Rebbe gesagt, should be a journalist. He's an Eved, a soldat. My father asked that, so the Rebbe said, I'll answer with the stories. He told the stories. This is unbelievable. He told my father that there was once a person who they wished to, Rebbe Mamayla, there was a kitrug on him, a decree. He lost everything. His livelihood, his family, and finally the final thing is health. His whole body was itching all the time. So finally there was Racham. In heaven there was like Rahmanis, compassion. So they said, grant him whatever he wants. They'll grant him. So that moment, he had a very big scratch on his back and he couldn't reach it. So the Rebbe says, the Gebet Nasherbel. Nasherbel is like a shard. To be able to reach, to scratch his back. And that's what he granted. They granted him his request. Because at that moment, that's what he was desperate for. He forgot about everything, So the Rebbe said, what bothers me most is when people ask me for something like that, when they could get so much more, they ask me something for their momentary need instead of really using my keich, something like that. The Rebbe said. I don't know if he said those aces, but the teich.
Wow.
Interessant, huh?
Were they published?
Huh? You never heard this?
Were they published?
I'm watching it. He's
Were they published?
Unbelievable answer.
Were these published?
It's made. Probably my father may have written it up. I remember my father told me it was like with the moshel and everything.
Do you have these? Do you have his notes?
He wrote everything. My father was he did write. Most of it is he wrote, or it was written down usually. I mean, I can't say everything is written. My father had long yechidus and there's a lot of stuff written.
What else did
my
he
father
ask
had such stuff with the Rebbe because the Rebbe spoke very openly with him. My father also, if you knew him, he was a chassid, but he also could speak like as a little chassidish chutzpah, Like my father once was standing on the side of 770, like Tishrei time. He got stuck in the crowd, so the Rebbe walks by and catches his eye. He tells him, he says, "Du hast echt kein Arbeit."
You're also unemployed.
You're also unemployed.
You're also unemployed.
Oh, that's great. So the Rebbe had he had these type of things, And so a few times, this famous one by the Yom Kippur War, the Rebbe went out to Levaya. I don't remember this. Bochum told me. The Rebbe was walking to Levaya, and my father was standing on the side. The Rebbe motioned him to come over, walking to Levaya.
After the war, when it started. After
right in the middle. It was the middle of the war.
After Yom Kippur.
Yeah. It was a Levaya. I don't remember who. The Rebbe was walking to Kingston Avenue. The Rebbe was walking to Kingston Avenue. No, we're talking about Lamed Dalet. I don't know who it be. And the Rebbe was walking, and he called him over. My father didn't want to go over. It was a Levaya. But the Rebbe called, and they were walking side by side. And the Rebbe started talking about the war, like giving him an interview. And he published it later, like a whole thing about the Natseir Zayin. The whole thing. It was my father actually published an additional Algemein twice a week then during the war because of that. Like additional edition because of the war.
Nightline. Like Nightline. That's how Nightline started originally.
My father had these things. The Rebbe once walked to 770. Also saw my father, and he asked him, "Was herzach?" Gershon Ber or something like that. So my father was a journalist. A chassid would say, Baruch Hashem, or would run away and wouldn't know how to answer, My father said, welchen Gebiet? Verstehst? On what subject? On what subject? I mean, it just makes me laugh. Welchen Gebiet, sagt dem Rebbe. So the Rebbe said, du weißt doch mein Gebiet, Eretz Yisrael. Yeah. But I'm saying to myself, I said to myself, how do you say that? Welchen Gebiet? He said, was soll ich neffen? The Rebbe was herzig. What do you want to know about? The weather? Wants to know what subject. So yeah, it's practical, but what I mean.
Wow. Das ist doch mein Gebiet.
Davon mal ein bisschen mehr, huh? Yeah?
Makes sense.
I'll tell you one final one, which was also unbelievable. This I heard from my father, also from Bachman, because my father.
But that means also that sein Gebiet is
Yeah.
Israel.
Yeah.
And that.
These are priceless, you know.
He
stuff.
should have known to enter Israel.
My father was
Allgemein.
another time interview thing. So my father said to the Rebbe, people want to know why the Rebbe never cooperates with other Agudah Harabonim and works with others. Does everything alone. He's alone.
Loaning.
So the Rebbe smiled and says, Pasha Shmeis. Was Pasha Shmeis that week? Yeah, that one. It's just known. It says like this. The Rebbe says, Moshe Rabbeinu saw the Mitzri killing the Jew. So he went and said that Vayifun Kai, he looked here and there, Vayarki Ein Ish, and then Chasei Bechel, he killed him. So the Rebbe said, why was he looking around? What, was he afraid for himself? And didn't help anyway, because Dasa Avinam did see. So why was he looking around? So Rashi says he saw the generations, but Rebbe said, Pshat, Pasha Pshat. He saw Jews being hurt. Looking around, is there any issue? Is there anyone that cares? And no one cares. So he had to do what he had to do. He's looking for somebody.
Wow.
That was the Rebbe's answer. He didn't say directly, that's why I don't work with everybody, but basically.
Wow.
So my father came out of Yechidus, the Bachman, and was the Rebbe gesagt? As Moshe Rabbeinu. That was my father's answer.
And we gotta kill someone.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
He killed Stalin, that's all.
Stalin was
Looked to the right and left, he killed Stalin too.
That was bad for Brennan, sure.
Yeah,
but the skeptics wonder why the Rebbe didn't kill him a little earlier. Would have saved him.
1953.
Everybody said it together.
What? Yeah,
Everybody said it
53.
together.
The skeptics wonder why the Rebbe didn't kill him a little earlier, and Hitler too. It would have been nicer.
What did they say then? They say that he got that Sona Spall that they didn't answer him, right? That one of the ministers told him. They say it was from the Spall, no? That one of the ministers had the chutzpah.
Hoo-ha, put him. Gimel was the hoo-ha.
You used to have it out here. What happened?
Hurrah.
Hoorah.
He's big.
Hoo-ha was something else, right?
That's what a hurrah means. He's big.
Oh, that's right. I didn't know
But
that.
you see, if the Rebbe used such a
It's a good. You missed the Rebbe a little, didn't you?
Now you're talking like
Talking like.
Like what?
like Shomba Lipska. You gotta love the red.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Sukkot is starting early.
Hey, Yossi, I said it more. I'm not saying
By the way, that was
saying
love
more. We're hearing Vettel, and you know.
By the way, Shomba Lipska is a great guy.
Okay.
Just when you start talking like that, it sounds a little.
No. He looks in your eyes and says, "Does Gedaventine the right show?"
Oh, that's ambition.
So yeah. That combination was made at the Simchas Torah. The Rebbe, the ganze Meichen und der Tanzman on unbelievable. That only Chabad has that. Extremes. Like the Rebbe said, Dav haben Yoda, but Edom hat Adel Yoda. Such good kunst.
The Rebbe is a kind of context. Why didn't the Rebbe do it before? Why didn't the Abish do it before? The same thing?
I understand. I understand. The Rebbe said about the Holocaust that the Rebbe, that God concealed it from the Friedrich Rebbe. He said once. Because he would have...
Because the Friedrich Rebbe told people to stay in
He writes in his book, the Zalman.
The Friedrich Rebbe actually told them to stay in
Hilleman. Who writes that?
That's the Friedrich Rebbe.
Friedrich Rebbe said,
People say different things.
Really?
that was, I don't know if it was the Holocaust or something else.
It's bad, what can you say? Okay, but here we are.
The Rebbe, the Friedrich Rebbe said Hashem Elohim Meni.
I think the Friedrich Rebbe said it. The Rebbe repeated it, I think. Well, we're here standing to talk about it, so that means something's working.
Believe you should have left and believe. Yeah, there's a lot of
Said,
politics.
I said we're here to talk about it, so something's working.
If you ever said, if I had to, if the Tata would come back and offer me say
That also.
my mother, well, give me a choice of what to think right now.
Weinberg said.
I would take the answer, but if I was just an element, it wasn't going to come. That's the lesson he used over there in the story.
I don't want to quote. I don't want to be quoted.
He had a choice. It sounds like
Who you told me this word? That the Rebbe said that the Friedrich Rebbe is a guy in Paris. The Schweretz Gemessen Nefesh. And the Rebbe was teaching in Paris in class. And at the end of the class, he was talking a few words about the Rebbe. He said the Rebbe is just in America, as Meshach Nefesh, Avegem Lubavitch, basically, can let an Aleph Beis Mitakin in America, something like that. Someone told me this. I thought I heard it here.
I know you heard it from. I think. The Rebbe said in Paris. By Fabranian, no? Someone said that?
No, I didn't hear from him. Heard from someone around here.
That's Avegem Lubavitch.
Meshach Nefesh, you know, yeah, Avegem Lubavitch. Like something like Avedis at Tefillah, Chassidus can let him Mitakin the Aleph Beis. Which is interesting, because that's what happened. You see the
In those years, for sure.
Talmud Teres and the Zachen, Rebbe, everything in its time. Hashem Matev Chalkeinu. That's what I would say. It's good to be part of these great.
Yeah, sure.
They wrote history, you know. They wrote some history. Can learn nasiche von Atares or from Rebbe.
No, somebody went by the Rebbe and he said, "This is mein Zeh." Stammt, you can't waste mein Zeh. Rebbe understand das. Rebbe gave me